Welcome to the Greenvale Radio Deadly Premonition 2 Spoilercast.
Yay!
I'm Dan.
I'm Whitney.
And oh boy, did a lot happen in this game. And now that it's been out for more than a week, we feel we're allowed to talk about it without risking anyone's first-time experience. But just make this clear, and I think you're going to back me up on this, we are expecting you to have played the game all the way through before you listen to this.
Yes, we're going to spoil everything.
Everything. We are going to spoil literally everything. So get ready. Okay. Where do you want to start? Oh my god. First off, can I just start with the big thing, which is York in the present day.
You mean at the very...
Sorry, Zach. Oh my god, I did it. Zach in the present day. I know. Zach in the present day. Oh boy. Wow.
Yeah, he's super different.
Yes. We talked about this a little on our, just Chapter 1 cast.
Mm-hmm.
But the transformation that his character has gone through, and the performance Jeff Kramer does of completely differentiating York and Zach as two entirely different people is amazing.
He did such a good job. I've seen, people on Twitter going, did they get a new voice actor? I can't believe they're not using the same guy. And it's like, no, it's the same guy. No. It's Jeff Kramer.
It's the same guy. He's just amazing at his job.
He has that, gravelly, I don't give a fuck kind of, grumpy old man thing going. And it does, as fans of the original game, you left on such a high note. Well, not a bittersweet note with the original. He's ready to take on the world. And then you see him 10 years later, and it's like, what happened to you, dude? You're mean.
Such a mess.
He's mean. He's sexist. He's just...
Yep.
It's like, what happened? He's so defeated.
I know.
But...
He is.
But the game, I don't know about me. I know it kind of turned some other fans away seeing him like that, but it's like, you need to stick with the game. There is a reason for it,
Yeah.
You find out that he was just messing with, Aaliyah. Testing her.
Oh, God. Well, and I think that's fantastic. The fact that he's testing Aaliyah, but the fact that he's, legitimately gone, the fact that they earned the way he's legitimately gone down this dark path, right?
Yeah.
Because, okay. And we're talking about the present day stuff. So all the stuff, first off, there's something Swery does where he calls his shots. He will warn you in advance that something is coming, and he will give you a really obvious clue. And then he won't be worried that he's given something away, because he doesn't need to surprise you, because the payoff is going to be good either way. And for an example, when he, early in the game, asks, who led you to the freezer, right?
Yeah.
Who said to investigate this? Who did that? And they're like, well, we got a message from someone named FK. Right?
Yep.
And then we, the audience, knows that York sorry, oh my god, I'm doing it. We know that Zach did it. We know for a fact that Zach was responsible for the tip, and that them being here is entirely part of his plan. Now, another game, or another movie, right, might have tried to withhold that information until a key moment, and it just tosses it off in passing.
Even just looking at it, you might actually think at first, FK, oh shit, was it another Forrest Kaysen that it's trying to fuck with Zach, too? You could see it both ways. You could see it as Zach, or you could see it as something from the Red Tree trying to get Zach in trouble,
Yeah. Oh, you can, but I will be honest with you, the minute it said that the message was from someone named FK, I'm like, oh my god, Zach sent the message. This is all his plan.
Oh yeah, I immediately
that was my
too.
first thought. But yeah, you're right. You're totally right that there are two ways to interpret it.
Yeah, Zach is from what I knew about his character, I was like, they're not going to do him dirty. This is something he planned. I mean, he's too, on top of things, given what they said about the shit he pulled while he knew Simon was watching over those 5 years.
I know!
He might be kind of losing it because he's near the end of his life at this point and getting desperate because he really wants to, I guess, solve this. He knows Greenvale and Lucre are connected, and he's lost his ability to go to the other world, and he's really desperate at this point. So, it might seem strange, but again, method to the madness.
Well, and I think what I liked most, right, is the way it plays with your expectations. Because, like I said, when you find out about the FK, you're like, oh my god, this is all his plan. He's, he is completely playing them. It's all part of a scheme. But then you get into his bedroom, right?
Yeah.
Because they're like, she's definitely in that bedroom. Like, he's definitely tied up in that bedroom. We just have to get inside and blah, 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 blah. You get into the bedroom and it's like, oh no, Zach is crazy. Like, yes, it is his plan, but this is not the York and Zach we remember. He has gone nuts.
Well, but again, not really. If you look at it from this other angle where what he's trying to do in his bedroom is recreate the altar scene. He's lost one aspect of his investigation ability. He cannot process the evidence and whatnot in the other world. He can't use York's power. So maybe he's trying to trigger that ability again that he lost by recreating the crime scene.
By recreating it completely.
So it looks insane, but there might be a logical reason.
You're right, there is a method to his madness, absolutely. Yeah. But at the same time, then that goes. I know.
When you see it, you're just like, oh god, what's wrong with him?
Even that kind of goes all out the window when you're like, oh yeah, he's murdered a ton of mice trying to figure out how the red tree works.
Yeah, he was doing experiments.
And that's a pretty scary scene. When you find out that he's been murdering mice to try and figure out how the red seed works.
I missed observing that. I haven't gotten there.
You did?
Yeah, but I saw it.
In your second playthrough?
No, I haven't gotten there yet. I was planning to make sure to observe it. But just seeing it and it might freak people out. I'm like, well, I don't want to freak them out anymore, so I just didn't do it. But I heard, I think, was it on Twitter or Reddit? Someone mentioned it, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, he murdered a bunch of mice to get the red tree to grow.
Fed a bunch of the red seeds to the rats to try and figure out how the red tree would sprout, and he just can't figure it out. And I'm like, oh, that's messed up.
You're missing an ingredient, dude.
I love Zach, but exactly. He doesn't know about the thing that you have to do to make it sprout. Because he never exactly found out what it was, and we have our own theories that we've talked about. But it's pretty disturbing. Yeah, we kind of have a good sense of what you actually have to do to make that stuff sprout, but it's pretty disgusting, and you can check out our video on the game for that.
We don't want to. We think it's Kaysen's semen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And seed.
Uh-huh.
Right there in the name.
Yep.
So disgusting. But yeah, Kaysen is, oh my god, Kaysen being back. But like, to send York down that road. And I'm sad that you didn't see that audio, that one file, like that audio, where he explains that he's been trying to get it to work, right? And how it's been messing with his head, how he can't figure out how he does it. Because that sets up, you realize, and huge spoiler here, just in case you weren't, listening to us, you weren't taking us seriously when we said there were spoilers earlier. It's all a setup. Like that scene with the rat that he'd been testing on is all a setup for the big finale, where we find out that York is so close to doing what Kaysen wanted all along, to becoming a part of the red tree. That's what he wanted from from Zach all along, to be able to take Zach's power and make him part of the red tree.
Yep.
And he comes so close to doing it.
Yeah.
Is there a more heartbreaking moment in this game
I did not want to take his hand. I did not want. I sat there over a minute going.
And they give you the 3, and all you can do is take his hand.
I was like, no, I do not want to take Kaysen's hand. Fuck him.
I know, but the state that Zach is in at that moment, he can't do anything else. It's such a horrifying and beautiful scene because there's nothing left to him. He is completely defeated. He has been brainwashed. He has gone down this road of trying to figure out the red tree. And if you will just take Kaysen's hand, you'll know all the secrets, right? You'll understand the red tree. All of your questions will be answered, but in doing so, you will become a monster. And that moment where he's willing to do it, oh my God. That was powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I found that to be an incredibly powerful and intense sequence.
It's a roller coaster of emotions.
It is. Well,
I'm trapped in a glass case of emotion.
Shouldn't. But that moment when he imagines that Patricia is still, what she was like as a child, and imagines that she's telling him, you should have let me die all those years ago.
Well, yeah, that was all Kaysen manipulating.
Oh, of course.
What he was saying.
Of course, but it's the perfect thing to mess with Zach's head. It's the perfect thing to manipulate and emotionally crush Zach.
I mean, he's so guilty.
What an incredible scene.
Letting all these people.
Yeah.
Not letting, but
these
people died.
All these people.
Yeah, failing it. They died on his watch, and just the shit that happened to Emily, really scarred him.
Oh, I know. And he's still not over, he's still not even close to over it. He is, it's been 2 years, as they say, he went on sabbatical for 2 years, right? He went and he tried to recover for 2 years and he couldn't recover. And so he finally just took early retirement. And, oh my God. And of course, they never stopped watching him. And the question is, was it a predatory watching him, or was Bob just worried about him? And I don't think we ever get a straight answer about that.
I think given that Bob was so, quick to lend him a plane, I think...
How great is that scene?
I think it was probably more we need to watch over him. There's something seriously wrong that we don't understand. He was such a good agent, using abilities we don't fully comprehend. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even, did you notice...
No, I think you're probably right.
Did you notice, even in the 2005 segment, I think when he was talking... I forget which NPC, when I was doing a side mission for one of them, he brought up Bob Abrahams and how much he trusts him, and how that Bob Abraham seems to have a special ability of his own, their kindred spirits.
Yeah.
So it kind of just shows how close they are.
Yeah, they truly are. Bob respects him 100% and trusts him and always has his back. And it's kind of beautiful because York has always, York had always delivered for him.
Yeah, it makes sense why he might actually try to send someone to watch over him if he's spiraling,
It's true, and he is spiraling, and he has been keeping secrets from Simon and keeping secrets from Bob, and that's how you really have to be worried about the state he's in, because he's keeping these secrets.
Yeah.
He is keeping this stuff hidden from everyone, even the people who care about it.
I don't know, should we back up and kind of just summarize the 2019, quickly summarize the 2019 segments, just in case if people are a little bit confused?
Okay.
So,
yes, please get started.
Okay, so basically, we kind of went over this in the first episode, but Lise Clarkson's body reappeared, 14 years after it first disappeared. It was found in Le Carré.
Mm-hmm.
The FBI was tipped off by an anonymous note from someone named FK to go investigate the Clarksons. Aaliyah, who at this point is still kind of a newbie FBI agent, but she sort of has an axe to grind because her little brother got addicted to Sang Rouge and it messed him up. It's been 2 years, he's been off the stuff, and he still can't speak, and she's desperate to find the source and hopefully get information on what could be a possible cure to this. Like, someone is still producing this stuff, and she really wants to stop them and also maybe get, I guess, a look at their research notes or whatever. So it's really important to her
to figure out how it's being made.
Fixed. That's her main thing. And so she gets this note, and she first tries to figure out who FK is, but she found out there's too many possibilities, like thousands of people in just the state of Louisiana, and decides just to follow what the note says. And she goes and she starts to investigate the Clarkson's food supply, and she stumbles across it. She finds her body.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Avery had it out. I don't know, but she found it, and then she goes to try to question Patricia, who is a Clarkson and I guess owns this facility, and she's gone. She's gone missing. And she does some more investigating, and she finds out that a couple days prior, there was this man there going by the name Billy Bishop on the flights and rented a car, but he's very distinct looking. And she gets into her head that is motherfucking Zach Morgan. He has Patricia. Yeah. I want these answers, so we're going to go talk to him right now. This is bullshit. So she goes back to Boston, ropes in Simon, who's been watching him for the past 5 years, going, we're going to go talk to him now. And that's what sets off the whole investigation. She's convinced that Zach had something to do with hiding the body, that he might actually have been a part of the original murder, and wrapped up in this Sang Rouge stuff. Yeah,
and is definitely responsible for Yes?
Oh, I'm just saying, because in her mind, it doesn't make sense that this one man could be that good at his job, solving all these hard-to-crack cases, because he didn't have partners.
There must be something else going on.
He must have a hand in it to solve it, like someone setting a fire and then going and just put it out and being the hero.
Yes, exactly. She is 100% sure that he's behind all of this stuff. So that is where the characters are at when we first meet them. Like, that is the emotional state. And then we get the beautiful game of cat and mouse, where she observes, D4 style, she observes his apartment, learns things about him, questions him, and we go on this amazing journey with Aaliyah.
Yeah, she's very, very suspicious of everything. And it's wow.
Well, and the one thing that frustrated me on that scene, and I know it's by Sweary's design, and he's encouraged you to play more times, is that he never warns you which of the items is going to move the story forward.
Oh, no, you can.
Because in any given scene... you can?
Yeah, just hit the vision ability. It will be highlighted in yellow.
Okay, that was embarrassing. I did not do that.
Yeah, I did not figure out which one.
So there's
pop-ups.
3 different... Oh, yeah, one of 3 different... Well, that's me. I was too excited to get into the game both times. But yes, I was so excited to get into the game, I just started asking questions. And so I missed 3 questions because I clicked on the wrong thing.
Hey, I missed the D4 reference, so you're not alone.
Oh, I'm so sad you missed the D4 reference, but you caught it the second time through, right?
I caught it the second time, yes.
Okay, good. Yeah. Isn't it great knowing that we're literally downstairs from David's apartment?
Yeah, so essentially, Zach lives
He's upstairs right now. Yeah, he lives 1 story down from David. And the only reference we get to D4, we were hoping to get so much D4, but the only reference we get is an amazing shot at Microsoft for not being willing to put up the money to finish the game. Yeah,
it was still a nice little
frustrating
pot shot at them. I mean, it makes me sad, though, that 6 years later, David is still trying to solve the murder.
I know, it's so sad. But then again, that's the world of D4. We still haven't given up hope that one day he'll solve the mystery of his wife's death. And the mysterious drug, which may or may not be the same drug from Deadly Premonition.
Or
it's certainly possible. Exactly. Well, yeah, but I mean, it's nice to know that we find out who has kept making Sang Rouge all this time. Because, I mean, spoiler alert, Lena, the chef of Sang Rouge, gets killed, right? And this a question we never really asked, that we never really think to ask is, well, then who kept making it so that it's still spreading all around the world? And of course, we find out that it's not that hard to make. And one of my favorite things in the whole game, was Aaliyah recoiling against the mysticism of it, because they've done tests on Sang Rouge, and their tests do not show any ingredients that should allow it to create the hallucinogenic effects that it has on people.
Yes.
And I love that. They literally can't figure out how this drug does what it does to people. That's such a nice touch. There is this extra mystical, magical element to the drug that they just can't figure out. And it's good that they acknowledge that. I thought that was a nice addition to the story.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I am surprised that Avery was still able to do it, though.
Yeah, I mean, but he was the lab assistant, so like he did know how to do them. Like,
maybe there
were 3 trees in town.
Maybe there was like a certain like protocol or whatever that was already set up, and it was more like you just had to continue doing these certain steps. That
and I think that's what it is, because it's not like he invented anything. Like literally, there was just she had taught him. You go to the cold storage area, go to my cold storage lab, do X, Y, and Z with the seeds, and you get Sang Rouge. And I'm sure he would still be able to do that once he had been taught how. Like it doesn't really. I mean, yeah. It is weird, but once you know the recipe, you don't have to be a chemist. Like, you need to be a chemist to develop the recipe. You don't need to be a chemist to follow the recipe. That's true. I guess is what I'm saying.
That's true.
Yeah, and so, no, like, Avery didn't know why it worked. He just knew that it did. And by the way, that is one of the best, like, reveals in the game. Like, the clue you miss is that Avery knows about the red shadows that come out at night. Because he does missions telling you to go kill the red shadows that freak him out and that he doesn't like that come out at night. And because this is a weird game in a weird world, you just accept that. You accept that Avery knows about it, and you don't really question why or how Avery knows about it. I didn't. I mean, I don't know if you saw Avery coming.
I had suspicions. Because even Patricia mentioned the rumors, like some people can see these red shadows, so I was like, oh well, maybe Avery is just one of those people, you know, but he says he doesn't see them, but they still terrorize him while he's sleeping. And the further I got through the game, and he said he worked with Lena, so I was like, oh, it must be exposure to the red seeds, working with it, probably, you know. So I kind of put that together.
Because obviously I knew he was, the part I knew right away, well, not right away, but knew, was that that obviously Avery was the one stalking Lise. Right? That was 100% clear. That's just completely clear right away.
Given that like, every time you saw him, he was just like, Lise! I love you, Lise!
He was the one stalking Lise. I knew that he was so tall because, as we saw with what happened to George, the seeds can alter your characteristics. Yep. Right? And so I knew that he was on the seeds somehow, because that's how he appeared to be so monstrously tall. Like, that part I figured out.
Lena says it straight up in the bar.
Yeah.
That that they'll change your physical form to reflect your, like, abilities. And his main, like, thing was just his size. So it just enhanced
how enormous he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's exactly what happens to George in Deadly Premonition. Like, he is a beast. He is this monster. You're like, oh, okay, I get what's happening here.
Yeah, as soon as she said that to me at the bar, I went, oh, shit. Avery's probably more involved than the game wants me to think at this moment. There we go.
I was still surprised right at the, like, I was still surprised right at the end. Like, I had figured out Avery's involvement, but I didn't realize he was as involved as he was.
I think they were trying to do a
oh my
True
God,
Detective thing, right?
I can't believe. Oh yeah, exactly.
Because that was the same thing with True Detective. They, when they were first investigating, they didn't. Spoiler warning, I'm about to spoil True Detective Season 1, so if you've not watched it, please skip, like, the next 20 seconds. Okay, now, really take a look at the gardener guy. Like, they didn't think he...
Nope.
You know, he played them. Avery...
Yeah, completely.
Avery isn't as smart as the guy in True Detective. I mean, that was an act the guy was pulling on, but it was sort of kind of a similar... plot point.
Oh yeah, because Avery is so like.
Oh sorry, that's like spoilers
so
for True Detective.
So
sorry, guys.
It's fine. It's a 5-year-old show. Okay. No one needs to. No one needs to have spoilers about that one. That's fine. It's the. And in the second season of True Detective.
No, I haven't seen it. I've seen it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's just say the mystery does not play fair in the second season, is all I'll say about the second season.
Okay.
The mystery in the first one is much fairer than the mystery in the second one, is all I'll say about that. But anyway, and what gets me, right, when I'm watching that scene is the game got me again. And in the same way, like, the game got me with Melvin too.
Okay, Melvin.
Like, I didn't see that coming.
Melvin surprised me because, okay, I had suspicions given his name, Woods. I'm like, they're not going to do this again, are they? They did. And what got me was they set him up to be such a transphobic piece of shit. I did not expect him to come out going, I love Lena. It's like, wait, what?
Yep.
What?
I have always loved Lena.
Like,
every minute of my life for the past 15 years has been devoted to my obsessive love for Lena. Like, what? Oh my God.
That came out of nowhere. I think though,
such a
that's
surprise.
A little bit, I felt, okay, with this whole 2005 segment, there was a lot to take in, and I felt unlike the first game, it didn't give enough, like, breathing room in terms of the reveals. It just seemed like boom, boom, boom. There was no, like, real setup a lot of the times. You just had to kind of accept what we were told.
Yeah, you don't have the slow build up and all of the time to hang out with the characters.
I mean, there was, like, little clues here and there, like York noting that the photo of Candy was super old. It wasn't, like, a recent photo. I guess Melvin's caginess of wanting to involve, like, for York to go investigate Lena. Like, he really didn't want him to talk to her. So he pretended to, you know, his caginess was a result of him, you know, being a transphobic piece of shit.
Exactly.
You know, he's just trying to give her more time.
When in fact, he's just trying to, keep Zach from figuring out what's going on.
But
keep York from figuring out what's going on.
I kind of wish that the game spent a little bit more time laying out this plan, or at least explaining it in the Clarksons. I felt like it was just sort of like a cursory thing. It didn't go delved in deep enough, because you're still left with a lot of questions. From what I've seen in discussions online, there are a lot of people going, I don't know what the fuck I just played through. What is this?
Well, I mean, and that's why we're going to put together a story explained video, because, I mean, the clues are all there. Like, you can understand what happened from beginning to end in this story, even playing it once, but you do have to be paying attention.
Yeah, it wasn't as clear cut as the story in Deadly Premonition in the first one. You really have to kind of put things together on your own. The game will not spell it out for you. And all the reveals happen like boom, boom, boom. Oh, by the way, we're back in 2019 now. It's like, wait, what? What?
Yeah,
okay, it's over.
I gotta say, I was surprised at how abrupt, and this is one thing about the game. I will agree that the ending is kind of rushed. Like, we jump right to the end of this game. In a way that you didn't really in the first one. There's a lot of gradual build up. And I mean, the thing is, the difference is, right, there's no Harry in this game. right? There's no character who can tell you how the world works. There's Hungan, who gives you clues and pushes you in directions, but there's no one to come out and tell you, right, the world works via X, Y, or Z. There's no one there to tell you the backstory of the town. York's got to figure it out, and you, the player, have to figure it out and come to your own understanding of what's going on.
Yeah.
And that is, I'd say, one of the big differences between the two games, is there's no giant exposition dumped by a third-party character to get York on board with what's happening.
You know, another big difference
please.
I've seen is in this game, I mean, York is investigating, but he's not really. It seems like, okay, in the first game, like he'd go to the autopsy or go to investigate the crime scene. And then from the clues he found there, he would then go, let's go over here and investigate this new area. In this game, it was all more like, I'm just going to wait for this Hungan guy to give me another oracle. You know, he didn't ever do anything just on his own observations. I mean, he does have that line where he tells Zach, oh, I'm not just following him blindly, you know. But I think that's something this game lacked is York's own agency. With
initiative.
With the investigation, which I wish he had more of like a push to like do certain things without the input of Hungan, without the oracles. Like, okay, fine, at first that makes sense, but I wish as we went through the game, it was more about based on his own things he investigated.
Yes, based on his own things he noticed. I totally see that as as a completely valid criticism. Because he does kind of just like, it becomes this almost metaphysical investigation where he's like, the answer is going to come, like, if I just wait here long enough, if I sit at the foot of this river long enough, the answer is going to come floating by, is kind of the vibe he gives off of how he's going to investigate this case. I'll just be here when the solution wants to present itself, is kind of the vibe he gives off.
I don't know if this is maybe something to show how different he was being younger. Like, he didn't hone his investigation skills just yet. Like, it took some time. But that was a little bit of a disappointment. The way we moved through the story in that way. I kind of wish there was more investigation on York's part. You know, he did come to conclusions. He's able to come to his own conclusions and solve the oracles pretty much with ease. But I missed, you know, going to the crime scene.
Feeling like it is a police investigation.
Yeah. It just felt like a mystical fetch quest, which it essentially was.
Oh, no, it is. I mean, that's not an unfair description at all, right? Because it is, in this game, we are dealing with a York Morgan who is working much more in the realm of metaphysics, right? Who much more in the realm of the mystical than the more concrete York Morgan we meet 5 years later in Greenvale, where he's still doing it a completely standard, he's doing a largely standard police investigation, but he's still in that comfortable encountering oracles and letting them tell him what he's supposed to do, but it is in a very different context than happens in this game. Here, he literally, like a ghost or a spirit or possibly one of the characters, is telling him secrets about this town, right?
Yeah.
But the weird part is, like, all of the stuff that, well, not all, but most of the stuff that he is told by Hungan is, like, stuff that he would do in the investigation normally. Like, he would check. Like, you think about the oracles he is given. Like, yeah, the big oracle that's like, I don't understand why I've got to do this, is the, so there's two big oracles right at the start of the game. One is, go bowling. Okay. And like, no, he wouldn't have thought to go bowling on his own. But the second oracle is, go check out the Clarkson, the Clarkson cold storage place and meet people there. And it's like, well, that's something he was going to do for the investigation anyway, whether or not Hungan told him to do it. So it's like, yeah, Hungan's giving him messages and guiding him, but he is still doing relatively traditional police stuff that he would have done whether Hungan had told him to or not. And that is why I'm like, what is Hungan? Is it another character? Is there because you see him bowling and because she's driving a hearse, is there a connection to Alexis? Is Hoongan a creature from the white world? Is Hoongan like an unrelated entity? Is Hoongan a creation of York's mind? I don't know.
Well, I think it's just another, like, spiritual being. I mean, there's so many things. I mean,
in this
we got the
world,
red tree, we got the Lord. I mean, Hoongan. I mean, there's so many different spirits here going on.
Spirits going on that it's like, I'm sure he's connected to one of them, but we're not exactly clear on what the details of that connection are.
I assume that he wasn't happy with what the red tree was doing to the town, because it's infected the town for like over 100 years. And
well, 200 years.
200 years, sorry.
The person who planted the trees was a Civil War general, a Confederate general who came to town and planted the trees. And it's like, oh, Kaysen, of course you were a Confederate general.
And Hoongan said that, you know, people don't see him anymore, so he then saw that York could
see him, so yeah.
Let's use York to get rid of this problem that no one else seems to notice.
Yeah, and I mean, Hoongan is the closest to a Harry figure we get in the game. Right? Yeah. He is the closest, but even then, there's a point in the game in the first game, where Harry just gives you a bunch of straight answers. And Hoongan never comes clean with York in any meaningful way.
No.
Like, he never just gives York straight answers to questions. He is always manipulating York to get the result he wants. So he's a very different character than Harry, because Harry is like a guy who we get to know and we completely understand the motivations of. Whereas Hoongan remains mysterious even as the credits roll, and the last thing we see in the friggin' game is him bowling. Well, it's just like, he's bowling. One of his oracles was about bowling. I mean, I'm not saying there's some definite connection to Alexis, but she drives a friggin' hearse. It's weird.
I don't know. Okay, it's silly, but I think he has more connection to Mrs. Carpenter because he talked to her through the little alligator, or through a photo telling her to let the young man bowl.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if that's her dead husband.
That suggests it could be. Yeah. Like, that's the thing, because, you know, her and her husband and the bowling is how she keeps the connection to her. Is Hoongan speaking, is it a representation of her dead husband appearing as Baron Samedi, or is he passing a message, like, for the dead husband? Like, there's a lot of possibilities for what could be going on with Hoongan, and what's fascinating about the game is it doesn't give you any easy answers for it. Like, most of the questions I had in this game were answered by the game, right? But I still don't really know what's going on with Hoongan. Exactly.
There's still mysteries. Okay, let's rewind a little bit. Let's talk about the events of the 2005 case. Let's lay it out here.
Yes.
As for how we view the whole, like,
the events.
Crime. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so as I understand it, I'll start off. So, what happens is, Lena is pushed out of town because everyone is expecting Leonard, the most beloved member of the Clarkson family. The member of the Clarkson family that everyone loves, that everyone thinks is great, that everyone thinks is the perfect person to take over the family business and bring it back to greatness, right? Which is what, like, the main priority of the Clarksons is, you know, keeping their power over this part of town over this town going. Like, that's what they all want to accomplish. And Leonard Clarkson is supposed to do this. And everybody loves Leonard. Everybody's scared of PJ, but everybody likes Leonard, right?
Basically the only member of the family that people have any, like, real respect for. Or even just
respect, admiration. Yeah. Like, and everybody in town really likes Leonard. But the problem is, Leonard has two things going on that are problematic. One, is in love with his sister. 2, is actually trans and is not comfortable being Leonard. He is driven away.
He doesn't want the inheritance. He doesn't want the power.
Yeah. No, he doesn't want the power, and he's not comfortable, and he, on some level, understands that Leonard is not who he is. So he is thrown away thrown out by the father for trying to express this thing, right? This thing that is inside him about who he really is, and he goes off and transitions and is now Lena Dowman.
Yeah.
Right? And figures out what is going on with her. Like, she figures out what had been going on with her the whole time and reimagines herself as Lena Dowman. And while she is off going on that journey of self-discovery, she gets approached by Forrest Kaysen. And Forrest Kaysen builds a plan, teaches her about the drug, about how to craft Sang Rouge, about the effects it has, and comes up with a plan along with her to revitalize the family. Now, I have no idea why, I can't exactly say why Kaysen plans it this way, or whether it's all it's all just this. Well, it's obviously all a manipulation, but the question is, what did Kaysen want out of this? Because obviously Kaysen doesn't want anything to go well for anybody, except to increase his own power and influence in the world. So Kaysen gets Lena to start making the drug and go back to town as part of this frankly insane plot to create a goddess of fertility to rebuild the family around.
To purify the bloodline.
Yeah, to purify the Clarkson bloodline.
It's another bullshit ritual Kaysen made up to get humans to do heinous things to each other.
Yep. God, you gotta love Kaysen, don't you? He's such a monster.
I don't know. Should we be saying the he pronouns with Leonard? I was reading online.
Well, it's tough to say.
People are upset about that. And I just want to put out there, really sorry if that offends anybody.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If that offends anybody, but we're trying to talk about what Leonard went through before Leonard figured out that she was Lena. Right, so the language is a little awkward to use, and we apologize for that in advance. I'm very sorry if this has been incredibly frustrating for you to listen to. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
From now on, we're only talking about Lena.
Yeah. Hey guys, Whitney here editing, and I just want to make this super clear. It really wasn't until the discourse surrounding the instances of dead naming within this game when referring to Lena's past did I realize how hurtful it is to refer to a trans person's past name or gender in any circumstance. It's never okay. Our discussion here and any further slips of using Leonard, Lenny to delineate when we are discussing a younger Lena's past is not something that was done out of malice. So please forgive our ignorance and just know that this is something that we will be more mindful about in all further discussions about the game. Okay, thank you.
And so Lena uses everything she can, right, to make this plan come true. And her assets are, she's brilliant, right? So she goes to study chemistry to put it together.
Well, she left home, to college and stuff, and she already was doing that.
Yeah, she was already doing that, but she takes her chemistry knowledge and uses it to develop this drug with the help of Kaysen, and then she comes back and she enlists Melvin's help in her plan. And Melvin's part of the plan will be to seduce her sister, marry her sister, and watch over her and essentially get her hooked on Sang Rouge and make it and raise and look after her daughter until her daughter, with her sister with her sister Candy, is old enough for the sacrifice to happen that will quote unquote purify the bloodline. So that is Lena's plan.
But she starts having second thoughts at the last moment.
I know.
She doesn't, she decides whatever Kaysen told her was probably bullshit. And, she wants York to fuck it up.
Yeah. And the real question is, like, what is it that triggers that in Lena? And I mean, I have my own theories.
What's your theory?
My theory is that it's literally part of it is just seeing York with Patricia, like acting, because you get the thing to remember about Patricia is Patricia doesn't know this, but she's never actually had like an honest parental influence in her life. Like her whole life has been manipulated, right? Everything about her life, right, has been to prepare her, to groom her for this role she's supposed to play as this, sacrificial object. And then suddenly, like, seeing York just hanging out and seeming to genuinely like Patricia, I think might have awakened the feelings of like these parental feelings in Lena, and realizing that no, she can't sacrifice her daughter. She's got to protect her daughter, and she can't, like, things have gone too far and gone too badly for everyone for her to just stop. So she starts manipulating the circumstances to ensure that York is there to save her daughter when the time comes. And I think it's literally like watching York interact with Patricia awakens this parental instinct in her that she had never really felt before. Because, I mean, think about it, like, she has never made any effort to spend a moment with her daughter. Like, Patricia basically doesn't know who she is. I mean, she does who she is to the extent that everybody in town knows Lena, right? Like, Professor R, or Lena, is a known figure in town that she's heard of, but she has no idea that that is her father. And she doesn't have the slightest clue. And there is no moment between them. And I mean, it's too bad we never really get a moment between them at all. If there's one thing I would have liked to add to the big ending, when we do the whole alternate world stuff and the giant showdown in the cold storage facility, I think it would have been nice if the spirit of Lena had shown up to get a single moment with her daughter, because they never had any interaction in the story. Like, if I were to change one clear thing, that would be it. But yeah, I think that seeing her relationship developing with York, like, creates this parental impulse, like this parental jealousy. And she's like, oh my God, I've thrown away my child for what? For the story of my family, for this idea that they're going to be strong again. It's like, no, I should just do what parents are supposed to do, get out of my child's way, and let her have her birthright, instead of going through this.
Her blood isn't cursed. I mean,
no,
she's an innocent, and
exactly
away from the influence of PJ and, other weird family members, she'll be fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, as if the Clarksons aren't there to screw her up, she'll be fine. And, oh God, and then of course, we get Danny's transformation. We get Danny, which is, so fantastic.
So Danny is the son-in-law. He married Galena. Yep. They met while she was trying to become an actress. Mm-hmm. But things did not go well for Galena. She failed. Weren't people, like, cutting up her costumes and cutting her up in reviews and stuff?
Yeah, like, not only they have this insane thing where it's like, not only was she not reviewed well, all of the other, we get these lines about the other performers and the other actors, like, destroying her clothes and sabotaging her look. Like, she wasn't just failing at the job, she was actively being sabotaged by other people. Like, she could not handle the cutthroat world of Los Angeles and trying to become an actress. And as a consequence, she just married Danny, and she just went home to raise her kid in a normal way. And Then she reconnected with her sister, Lena, who got her hooked on Sang Rouge and brought her into the plan to quote unquote, save the family.
Yep.
Right. And then, of course, she got her daughter hooked, which one of the most messed up things, I mean, maybe the most messed up thing that has happened in a Deadly Premonition game. The
Getting
whole
your own kid
Lise
hooked on
murder
drugs?
scene. No, but Ben killing her.
Yeah. That scene was kind of uncomfortable because...
It's hard to watch.
She was already, she already cut off some of her extremities at that point, and she was still just so under the thrall of the drug.
Yeah. Yeah, we are specifically... The scene where Lise is getting cut up, and the act of being cut to pieces is pleasurable for her, because that is how the drug has rewired her brain. Oh my god. That pain has become pleasure for her.
Yeah.
That's a horrific scene to watch, and it makes you, in retrospect, understand more about the murder scenes in Deadly Premonition 1. If that's the effect the drug has on people. And how it's perfect for George's sadism, because he drugs these women, and he brutalizes them, and they love being brutalized by him. It's kind of horrific.
It's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the weird, because this game, in telling us more about how Sang Rouge, and by the way, thank God we finally have a name for the drug, rather than the red powder. I think we just called it the red powder over and over again.
It still might not be the same, you know?
I think it is, though.
It might be just a different version of the same drug, but one is more concentrated to have
than the other. It is possible, but that being said,
because I don't see Quint and Becky being able to replicate what a chemist in Louisiana did, with prior,
training in that. Oh no, I agree with you completely on that front. But what I will say about that is I think there's a good chance it's meant to be pretty close to the same drug, because the effects we see it having on Carol and Diane really match what we see of the effect on Lise was. The whole Diane death is really close to the kind of she is not capable of feeling pain. She is psyched out of her mind to be in the horrible pain she is. She's been stabbed, she's had her tongue cut out, and she is just flying high. So I think we can say that there is some consistency to the idea that Sang Rouge, or whatever the drug is, turns pain into pleasure. If there's one thing that is true of both drugs in the game, I think we can say that you're right. Definitely one is a more powerful, potent, processed version, but I think they both have this pain-pleasure switcheroo effect. And I think we can pretty much say that's confirmed by this story. So yes, then York comes to town. That's where the plan is before York comes to town. And then York, I thought there was going to be more depth to him coming to town, he had a connection to the town. I'm a little embarrassed to have been that wrong about it, but we can talk about that later. But he just stumbles into town because he hears about the murder.
Yep.
While he's looking for Sang Rouge. Or he's looking for the origin of Sang Rouge. He hears about the murder. And he comes to town to look into it. Because, York's a curious guy. And he thinks there's probably a connection. And surprise, surprise, he's right. And then the plot of the game gets going.
So what's weird about this whole ritual that Lena is trying to do? So essentially, how George, the ritual that Kaysen told him was that he had to basically murder 4 women or whatever with seeds, then string them up in the fashion of the red tree symbol. And once he did that, he would gain immortality. That was the ritual for the first game. The ritual in this game was to purify the Clarkson bloodline, essentially means to annihilate most of the family except for Candy. She's the goddess of fertility. So the plan was that each parent, Galena would kill her own daughter, and then Lena would kill Patricia. Then Galena and Lena would then kill PJ together and then commit suicide.
Yes.
And doing that somehow, leaving Candy alive as the fertility goddess. With Melvin, they could restart the Clarkson bloodline, and it would be pure of whatever evil or whatever was cursing the blood.
Yeah, whatever evil was defining. Yeah.
That's what, and I forgot to say, after killing the people, their body parts were hacked to pieces and then this rearranged. And if you look closely, like Galena, her piece was kind of like a straight line. And not Galena, Lise, her body was like in a straight line on that altar, I assume. Galena, her body was forming a V. Her body parts were made to make a V. So taken together, you see the beginning of the, and then the way Lana and PJ died, their body parts being kind of just strewn all over around can kind of be seen as a circle. So between all those murders, if we put all the bodies and their placement together, you get a red tree symbol. So that's like another little connection there.
It's another amazing connection.
Yeah.
Because again, it's all for at its core, these characters don't understand that everything they're being asked to do is all a way to worship the red tree.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's all a way to empower the red tree. And that's the part of the story they're not told because, why would Kasem tell them the important part?
I mean, they do say, like, red tree when...
Oh, no, they do say, but I'm just saying that, like, they don't understand that Kasem does not care, in the same way that he doesn't care about George becoming immortal, he doesn't care about purifying the bloodline, he just wants sacrifices to the red tree.
Yeah.
Like, he's not trying to help anybody, he just convinces them he's trying to help them. What he wants is the sacrifices. He doesn't care about George, he doesn't care about Lena, he doesn't do it, like, he does it to empower the red tree and to honor the red tree. And yeah, he'll come through. George did get powers, right? George did get powers. Everybody who deals with him does get some degree of power. He can give you that, but it's all for him.
Yeah.
Like, he's not doing it for you. It's all for him and his master, the Red Tree. And we got to see Willie again.
Yeah, Willie shows up, and there was a missed opportunity to play that song. They didn't.
Yeah, weird that they didn't play the song there, isn't it? Like, it makes you wonder, like, is there a rights issue with that song? Could they not get the rights to play that song?
Well, that's weird, because they used other songs from the first game.
Oh, yeah, they used plenty of other songs from the first game. Yeah, it's weird that we didn't get the Willie Chase music. You're absolutely right.
But what's kind of funny is
kind of disappointed.
Like, Swery decided, people loved that scene so much, I'm going to make them do it twice.
No. I know.
Gonna chase the dog, then you're gonna chase the kid.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
No,
chasing
by fun
Patricia
you mean
to
it was annoying.
It was annoying. It was absolutely annoying. But I enjoyed the callback to the first game, and like
I like how the mission is just follow the Erie Dalmatian.
I know.
I was like, it's
where
Willie.
Did this Dalmatian come from? And it's like he's got no significance.
Did you try to kill Willie? Because I did.
I did not try to kill Willie. It did not occur to me to try to kill Willie. Did it? I assume bullets don't work on him?
Yeah, just nothing happens.
Oh.
Tried to run over him with the skateboard. I just stopped, and then I tried shooting him, and it did nothing. He just kept running towards the different trees.
Points for trying.
Wasting York's time.
Yep, that's how Willie does. But we do find out about the 3 red trees in town, which is nice, including the one that is in Lena's yard, which is also very
He
cool.
actually doesn't take us to that one.
Oh, no, but we find out about that when we visit Lena's.
Yeah.
He takes us to the other trees. Yeah.
Well, no, those aren't, 2 of them aren't even red trees, but there is, so the one he ends up taking us to is in the sugarcane field, and that's an actual red tree. But in the game, if you looked around, there was a red tree behind Lena's house, and there was one on the property of the Clarksons.
Yes.
As well. Like full-blown red trees.
Yeah, like the full-on, the gnarled red trees with the bloody sap coming out. Like, the red trees that you're familiar with from the first game, there are multiple ones in the game. Which is a nice touch. Yeah, and one thing that I really liked, though, right, was when we get to finally check out Lena's lab, and I had no idea how fast the ending of the game was going to come after we get to Lena's lab.
Yeah, everything's like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, and like the pacing of it just goes nuts once you get to the lab. But my favorite thing is, before we get to the lab, when I was talking about the first game, some people didn't believe me when I said that the two puzzles in the game are obvious parodies of the kind of puzzles that are in Resident Evil games. Like the squirrel key is, I think, pretty clearly a joke about the ridiculous keys in Resident Evil games. And likewise, the chess puzzle, where it's like, that is clearly a joke about Silent Hill's ridiculously ornate puzzles. Right? Where it's like, you have to, here are various things, and you have to read a book to figure out what how they should be ordered, and blah, 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 blah. And like the ridiculous stuff you have to do in Silent Hill games to figure out these puzzles. And then, but when you're playing Deadly Premonition, the first one, like, all the squirrel keys look the same to you. But then Thomas is like, no, that's actually a sugar glider. Oh, no, that's a chipmunk you got there. You need a squirrel. Yeah. It's an amazing, like, it's clearly a joke. Like, it's not accidental. It's a parody of those kind of puzzles. And likewise, in this game, like, I have been vindicated, because people are like, no, I just think, people responded, no, I think they're just badly designed puzzles. And I'm like, no, it's clearly satire. And in this game, it makes it clear that I was right all along, because you get the amazing bridge puzzle. Right? The bridge mechanism puzzle, where instead of having to go through a bunch of files and figure it out, York just goes on this long spiel about what the various pieces mean, and then is like, okay, so just type in CHO, you know?
Yeah, but, you know, the game did do a lot of padding with those fetch quests.
Like, it did, yes. I mean, you're right. The puzzle, like the joke about the puzzle is clearly a satire, but the fetch quests are not a satire. That's just game design, and I agree with you that there was maybe a little too much fetch questing in this game.
Yeah, so what was the point of the drums?
I don't know. I really thought it was going to come into play towards the end.
Like, I saw them in
because he still
Zach's
got the
room,
drums.
But,
yeah,
like, nothing happened with them. And
nothing really I thought, like, right at the end, the drums were going to be significant. We were going to understand what the drums were for this whole time. But then we don't get any payoff for the drums. And I'm like, oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
I really thought that was going to pay off. And I agree with you.
And that particular section has pissed off a lot of people. Like,
oh, people hate the drum puzzle. They really hated
having to waiting till Monday to get the can of red beans, and then getting the drums made, and then get told that, oh, by the way, you got to do some more stuff for me before you can move on.
Yeah. That's a tough one. And the thing is, I understand why he makes you wait till Monday, because the whole point of the game is he wants you to, like, so in Deadly Premonition, you never have to explore the town. Right? You never have to explore the town. You never have to do side missions. You can just, like, never do an optional thing of that game. You can just zip through plot area to plot area to plot area until the game's over. And the game will not punish you for that at all. Whereas in Deadly Premonition 2 here, he actively, by making you wait for Monday, says, no, take your time, explore the city, like, I want you to experience this world. And this is one thing he's doing that is obviously divisive. I enjoyed it, but he makes you take some time out and explore the city. Now, technically, York can just go to sleep for 4 days. You know? Yes. You can just go to your hotel room and sleep for 4 days, and then it's Monday and you get the red beans, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't. No, like, I don't think many people would. I think they're going to see this as the perfect time as, oh, let's go try out free missions. Let's go try out side missions. Let's go get good at skateboarding.
Me. I was like, okay, well, I gotta wait. Let's see if I can find some side missions, you know?
Which I did. I found a bunch of side missions. I still don't know what a lot of the weird side missions in the game are, because this game is not, not good at explaining a lot of stuff. But I would understand that being a divisive element.
Yeah, that's like one of the biggest complaints I've seen is that whole section. People are like, it grinds the game to a halt. This is ridiculous. We get done with one fetch quest only to get another. Even York's annoyed. What sort of gameplay is this? You know? And another thing I found, a lot of people didn't know how to progress the game at times because it wasn't clear enough where you had to go to find certain things. So before the game even came out, I had another reviewer DM me asking for help because they could not end episode 2. They didn't know where to go for the anaconda skins. And then later, when York had to go get the coffee, he didn't realize he had to go order coffee from Alexis. He didn't where am I supposed to find this? And it's like, okay, maybe the game could have been a little bit more clear on where you needed to go. Because, I was able to figure it out, but...
It literally says, order yourself from some coffee, and there's only 3 restaurants in the
York tells you, right off the bat, hey, we need to go get some coffee, when you're traveling around.
He's 100% clear about it. Liquid sunshine, a thing to wake me up and help me pay attention. Let's go get some coffee. He's completely... You're right, he's completely open about it, which raises the question. I'm like, were you just... Some people, I think... This is not a game that can be rushed through.
And with the anaconda skins, I don't think a lot of people look too closely at the mission cards. Because in that one in particular, it says goal, it says park. And the only park that's marked on your map is the one where you find the skins.
Oh yeah, and if you go to that park and just search under the trees, you will find anaconda skins. And the game is very good about just constantly respawning items. So... Search around the trees, find the anaconda skins, run away, come back, you'll find more anaconda skins. It's when I had to farm killing 50 bees, literally you just kill the hornets, and then you run away, you come back, you kill more hornets, you run away, you come back. The game is very good about quickly respawning all the stuff you need to do repetitively.
Well, I don't know, not with the bees. I found that it was easier just to go to the cemetery and then do a circuit, because there's so many hives in that one area.
Yeah, there are a ton of bees in the
cemetery. So I just did a circle around the entire property. And then by the time I would reach the hive, it would be respawned. Yeah.
Yeah, and I did that in the park instead of the cemetery, but it's the same basic thing. Fun thing about the bees. Hardest enemy to kill with the skateboard. By far.
Well, yeah, they're airborne.
Yeah, they're airborne. You gotta do the jumping kick. By the way, I only discovered, really recently that you could kill stuff with the skateboard.
Oh, I found that out
I did not
pretty
discover
fast.
that in my first playthrough.
As soon as I was able to do the spinning one, I was like, oh yeah, I can hurt,
Yeah, and it's by far the best way to kill squirrels. By far.
Really, just punch them.
Oh no, but it's so much more effective because you just move really quickly through whole groups of squirrels. You can get 3 squirrels simultaneously with a single 360 spin. Trust me, if you want to kill squirrels really fast, doing the weirdly, skateboard tricks are the way to get squirrels really fast. And the rest of the killing, well, I haven't tried killing, red creatures with the skateboard yet. I should probably try that at some point. I assume the skateboard doesn't work during boss fights, but I have not tested that.
Yeah, no, you can't because they're indoors.
Oh, right, exactly. That's too bad. It would have been nice to try and use the skateboard on, some of the bosses.
You know what I found
I think that would have been a ton of fun.
Pretty surprising is how many people I heard ran out of bullets. And I think one of the issues was how fast the inventory got filled up. So even during the Otherworld segments, they give you a lot of bullets during that time.
Yeah,
but
they do.
The problem is if your inventory is full, you're not getting those bullets. So you'll find yourself without bullets unless you go to the toolbox.
Yeah, whereas what I did was whenever my inventory filled up, I'd go and put an inventory and the game would be like, you have 15 coffees and 4 anti-paralytics. And I'm like, well, I'll just throw away a bunch of those coffees. It was not a problem at all for me.
Yeah.
Like, that was not something that I noticed as being a problem.
I never got to a point where I was forced to use just, like, my fists to... like, a couple people said that they had to fight, like, Galena and stuff with their fists because they ran out of bullets.
No, God, no. Yeah, that never happened to me. Oh, weird. Huh. That has nothing like that. I've never run out of bullets in the game to the point where it's like my entire first time through the game, I never punched anybody. Because why bother? I've got a gun. And then, of course, in my second time through, I practiced punching and skateboarding as a way to attack people, just because it was fun to change things up in my second way through. But no, the first time never had an issue with running out of bullets.
I think I ran out of bullets, like, when I was trying to do the stamp stuff. Like, oh shit, I ran out of bullets. I've been shooting all these alligators, and then I ran out, and I gotta go get a bullet. So I think I was caught, like, once or twice my first time through, but never when it was like I needed it to fight a boss. So I was really surprised to hear that. I think it would have been better if the inventory stacked your bullets.
Instead of them each being their own...
each 50 being their own little slot. If the bullets were stacked, I think it would have been
improved. A lot easier for people, because people would have just been able to, like, okay, I'll buy 500 bullets. Now that I know them headed for a boss fight, I'll just buy 500 bullets before I go in, and then I'll be ready. That's what I did anyway, but, it took up most of my inventory to get 500 bullets.
Yeah. So
well, not most, but a full third. Yeah, and by the time I was going for the very end, I'm like, maybe I'll bring 1,000 bullets, just in case.
Did you end up finally doing, like, the boat stuff your second time through?
Yes! I finally got around to doing the boat stuff the second time through. And you learn a bunch more about Lenny when you're...
Yes.
And how people felt about Lenny when you're doing the boat stuff, which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah, Chuck was a big fan.
Yeah. I just love that it's like that Chuck draws a direct comparison between York and Lenny, right? Like that they're more similar.
Well,
right,
even she said the same thing at the bar.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Like that they are actually very similar people because they've got, a secret part of themselves. And I thought that was a really nice touch. That even Chuck could detect that. I thought that was nice. But yeah, I did all of the courses. Well, not all of the courses. There's this weird thing in the game where stuff is numbered strangely. Where it's like, there are 5 courses to do. Those 5 courses are 1, 3, 4, 5. And I'm like, well, what happened to course 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm like, well, where's course 2?
Course 5 opens up when you finish all of them.
Oh, okay. So yeah, there's another course when I've finished. But it's just weird that they're numbered that way. It's just like it's just like the hotspots where it's like 1, 3, 4, 5, 8. Like, what? 1, 3, 4, 5, 8? What are you doing, numbering system? Although I did find one of the hidden, I haven't found a way to get her to take me there, but I did find a hotspot that you're not supposed to be able to get to, but I was able to get there anyway, and it crashed the game.
Was that the one where you got trapped in the lab area?
Oh, no, not the lab area. The fence, the fenced-in area with the cargo containers that is on the, that is right next door to the, there's a big parking lot next to Clarkson
that
cold
area,
storage.
Yeah.
And you can get in there. It is a hotspot, and you are only supposed to be able to get there if she takes you there. But you can, if you skateboard just exactly the right way, you can get in there. And then you can find a prompt to talk to Raven, even though Raven and her car is not there. And if you talk to Raven, it will crash the game. So maybe be careful doing that.
I wonder if that was a hotspot that was cut. Because I have not been able to trigger any new hotspots yet.
Yeah, that is... It's weird. I've almost completed... I thought it was going to open up new hotspots once you finished off the bellhop David flirting with Raven mission, but it didn't.
Yeah. No, you just got a discount.
No, you just... I know, but it's still useful, but I was really hoping to get that I would get some big change, like give me the new hotspots, give me a new information, like give me a hint here, but no, nothing.
Yeah. No.
So here's my question to you.
Okay. Is
Lewis an alien or not?
I think he is. I think he is.
Me too. They do that joke at the end about him having a Louisiana guidebook in his pocket.
Yeah, but
if he's an alien who's been here 500 years, why does he have a guidebook for Louisiana's pocket? I'm like, okay, that's a good point, York, but at the same time, I choose to believe he's definitely an alien.
Yeah, I think he's an alien.
Okay, good. I'm glad we're on the same page on this one. I want to believe in a beautiful world where there's an alien hanging out in Louisiana for no reason.
Look at all the other shit we're seeing in this game.
That's true. You're right. Yeah, him being an alien.
It's not even the weirdest thing in the game.
That's true. You're right. There are much stranger things in the game than him turning out to be an alien. So yeah. Okay, you got me
I wanna ask you your theories on the monsters. I'm gonna tell you mine and see if we're in agreement.
All right.
So in the game, you have 3 monster types, right? You got this one with scissors, snip, 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 snarf, that guy. You have another one who's chained to a door.
Chained to a door, yeah.
And can only attack you via its locks that spring off and
become
attack.
spiders. Creepily.
Yep. And then the last one is this woman who sounds a lot like Patricia in kind of like a bondage. And very sexual sounding.
Yeah.
Right? So my theory is that these all represent one of Lena's victims. So Snip, Snip, Snip is Galena, with, the whole cutting thing.
Chopping up.
The door guy, I thought maybe it was Lena at first. But the more I thought about it, the fact that he can only attack you via the locks, like sending the locks after York, I thought maybe it could actually be PJ, a representation of PJ, because he sends his goons after people. He never gets his own hands dirty, and we saw that with Danny, with the whole hand thing. He had his goons do that to him. And then the last one is Candy, who got turned into the fertility goddess against her will.
I completely agreed. My thought was that I didn't see the Candy connection. It actually makes perfect sense.
It was mentioned that she was very, promiscuous. Then they kept having a relationship, even after she was with Melvin. So to Lena, she's like this sexual...
temptress figure.
Yeah. And that's where I'm like, oh, that's why she sounds like Patricia. That's Patricia's mother. They might have... We never heard Candy's voice except...
actual voice.
Except the grunting and stuff. But
the grunting and the laughter.
So it might... she might sound like Patricia.
No, I assumed that... I assumed that the door monster was representing PJ. Like, that just made perfect sense to me at the time. But I did not see the Candy connection. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, and if you think about it, it all comes down to the monsters you're fighting are Lena's feelings about all of these people in her family.
Yes. Yep.
They're representing her relationship to the various members of her family. Yeah, no, that's what I saw. I just didn't get that connection with Candy. And that makes perfect sense.
It took my second playthrough. I was kind of forming this last night, and I was like, because I heard that
especially because that creature's name is Inamorata, so it's that would be like his secret mistress, like Leonard's, and then Lena's secret mistress, the Inamorata. So the fact that it's even named that reinforces your take on it.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of clever because the other worlds are essentially like exploring Lena's
people's
mind
heads
and, victims' minds throughout, and it would make sense that we're seeing, a
direct connection there.
I don't think that came across very well, though.
No.
Because some people still seem really confused about what they represent. I think it was clear in the first game what the shadows were supposed to be.
Oh, yeah. No, they're very open about what the shadows are in the first one. Although I would debate it's possible that the Scissormans represent, because they are named, things suggesting they are clowns. it's possible they actually represent Melvin, who is positioned as a fool and a clown, and he does chop up Galena.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
I think it's actually more likely that the clowns are representing Melvin than Galena.
I was thinking it was more Galena just because they were the first creatures we saw, and this is like way before the Melvin reveal.
No, I get your point, but I'm just saying because Melvin is posited as a clown figure, and he does more so than Galena is. That being said, a clown is a performer, and she was an actress, right? So you can make a strong case for either of our interpretations because I think what got me was an actress.
Scissors, like because of her past being so connected with being like cut up, professionally.
And then she ends up being cut up at the end of the game. So it's like, I think there's a good case for both. Yours is probably, there's more evidence for it than I was. But I thought once I found out about the Melvin reveal, that is where my head went for what the monster meant. But, I mean, it is just as likely that it's yours.
And again, the first time through, I totally missed the whole part that Candy seduced Lena. When she was younger.
I know.
Like, that was all on her side. So Candy isn't a very nice person.
I know.
But I don't know if she deserved to be hooked up to 24/7 San Rouge and blowing up. That was 8 years. It took her 8 years to blow up that big.
Yep. That's very messed up.
Okay, quick note here. Now, I could have sworn there was text or dialogue mentioning Candy seduced Lena first when they were younger, but I was rewatching some scenes and the circumstances of the relationship isn't actually made clear in the game. What we know for sure is that Lena was in love with Candy and that they had an intimate relationship that resulted in Patricia and then continued after Candy's marriage to Melvin. I think I unfortunately conflated some of the facts presented within the game. So York describes Candy as being, quote, sexually liberated, which seemed like a really odd thing for him to bring up, in my opinion. And this apparently contributed to PJ's apparent disappointment in her. I don't know. And it made him focus his energies on the younger Lena instead. So my thoughts here were, given that Candy is the elder sibling, and the dress and sensual movements and sounds of the shadow creature, that this was a hint that it was more likely that Candy herself made the first move, which then led to her and Lena having their sexual relationship. I could be wrong, though, so I just wanted to clear that up. I'm really sorry. And a lot of people were wondering, like, why that form for the goddess of fertility, and I think it's a connection to
they not because they're not
Venus
familiar
of Willendorf or the woman of Willendorf figure, which was
the famous figurine, which is this prehistoric
version of fertility
goddess, and it's like it is a woman who looks just like that. Like it's a drawing of woman. And you can say, oh, well, she's massively overweight, or she's supposed to be representing pregnancy. Like you can, read it however you want. But the fact is, she is meant to, they call her the fertility goddess, and she is visually indistinguishable from that famous model. So I think you were dead on in saying that's what it's a connection to. Although, that's a lot of things. I mean, there's plenty of references here that it's not like the game hands you these references. So all sorts of people just wouldn't have that information. You didn't know the double meaning behind Billy Bishop.
No, I knew it was from Spy Fiction.
No, but the second meaning is Billy Bishop is the guy who shot down the Red Baron.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly.
I knew the woman of Willendorf from my,
from
art education. Yeah. So,
but that's my point. Like the game is filled, because it is this dense a game, it's filled with various things that are not going to be. So, I mean, and the Billy Bishop is amazing because it's both a reference to one of his earlier games, but it's also reflecting this whole war between Zack and the concept of the Red World. because Billy Bishop killed the Red Baron. I mean, Billy Bishop didn't actually kill the Red Baron, and maybe that's the double meaning too, but Billy Bishop got credit for killing the Red Baron, but he probably didn't actually do it, which creates the situation where, in the same way, York killed Kaysen, but did he really?
We should actually kind of talk about that. So,
yes.
I've seen a lot of discussion about this going, what the hell? How is Kaysen, how did he come back? You know, like, how is that even possible? Zach destroyed him in Greenvale. Mm-hmm. But did he really? We saw Willie pick up that little doll, that little Kaysen doll. And carry him away. So,
and we can extrapolate that he rebuilt Kaysen.
Or at least the Red Tree did. But the Red Tree did, yes. He's still not, back to his old self. He has limitations, which means this is why he can't really interact with the real world.
He's not in, and I think that's the key part. He's not in the world anymore.
He's kind of stuck in the Otherworld version, and he has to use other people, control other people to get what he wants. I mean, he was doing that as Kaysen before, but this is his only mode of really fucking with people.
Yeah, and he now can only manipulate people. Yeah. And he can only use, his only way of attacking York is to use Aaliyah's suspicion of York to, grab a piece of her mind. Her suspicion and her need to be right and her, attacking on York, that's what he uses to get her to become, his puppet in the end.
It's more mind play. He uses the
dark stuff. Yeah. Exactly. He uses the dark stuff that was already in her head to manipulate her into attacking York.
It's kind of shown visually, too, how the Red Tree, the Red Seas and just the power of the Red Tree, how it just sort of creeps in and can take control of your thoughts and whatnot. We saw it with York, especially when they first see this tree and he stops Patricia from grabbing it. And when he picks up the seed, you see these veins start to get darker in his head.
I know.
It's showing influence. And then later on in the 2019 segment, you see Zach having this horrible nightmare. You see he's picturing that he's strangling Kaysen and Willie's running circles and Kaysen's just laughing at him. And he is just so deep in this vision that he doesn't realize he's strangling the life out of Aaliyah, who's just what the fuck? But you look at Zach in that scene when you see Aaliyah's point of view, he has these dark veins and he looks possessed. And I think that's the game trying to show you that he's not in his right mind anymore. Kaysen is really getting a foothold. And he's been fighting him for so long, this remnant of Kaysen who's pissed off that Zach fucked him up in Greenvale. And now he's just spending all of his energy fucking with him. I'm pretty sure that his brain cancer is probably due to Red Tree influence.
It has to be. Because you could say, does he have brain cancer because he used to smoke? No, I think it's the influence of the Red Tree had on him because the white world is able to heal him. Mm-hmm. I think there is a supernatural influence to the fact that he got this cancer.
So, if we're looking at this game, from what we know about the Red Tree and its agents of evil, these Kaysens, I think it's pretty clear that it is the same Kaysen from Greenvale.
Oh, yeah.
Who's mad. But it's think of it kind of, I guess, as Voldemort. You know how Voldemort had to use Professor Quirrell? And, he couldn't do anything on his own?
Couldn't act in the world anymore.
Until he got his own body back. I think Kaysen's kind of he's in a similar position where...
That's actually a good analogy. Yeah. He only has psychic powers now. Mm-hmm. He has no physical ability to work in the world and manipulate people. Not anymore. Yeah. Not since he got killed by Zach back in Greenvale.
His physical form got, destroyed, pretty much.
Yes. And he was obviously hurt in the spirit world. Mm-hmm. It has taken him a while to come back. And one could question whether... His power. Yes, and regain his power. And one could question, and this is something that I thought about when he turned up, I kind of feel like it's York's, partially it might be York's obsession with unlocking the secrets of the Red Tree that might be helping him get his power back.
I was going to say that with like his obsession with trying to get the red, like replicate the Red Tree stuff. That might have been the opening Kaysen needed.
Exactly.
And it kind of fed him. Thinking. Like, his obsession with it fed Kaysen, and he was able to use that to come back a bit stronger and stronger over the years.
Yes.
Enough where he was able to really get his revenge on Zach.
Yeah. Oh. It's a heartbreaker,
I thought
that
the game
final
did a good job
scene.
kind of making it clear. Yeah, making it clear, especially in the final battle where
he is literally like,
like he's corrupted Zach enough. Like, Zach's been holding him off for a long time. Mm-hmm. He's so close to death, and it's like that final push that he needed finally corrupted him enough to turn him into this like ultimate tree monster. Which was kind of neat to point out that even Kaysen was pretty impressed that how powerful Zach was in his monster form. Like, he took on the form of a tree, and that's like the ultimate being to Kaysen.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, he is actually becoming like a facet, literally becoming a facet of the Red Tree. Mm-hmm. Like, in a way that even Kaysen isn't.
Exactly.
And that's really, it's such a good scene. One thing, like, that, the connection between him and Patricia, and, you know, finally seeing adult Patricia and calling out for Zach and bringing back the contract from the start of the game.
I was like,
it's overwhelming. Like, it's overwhelming. And I mean, I said that, I remember, I think I tweeted, you can check this. I might not have tweeted, I might have just said it to you, that it's like, that scene with the contract is Swery saying, checking his watch and being like, in 25 hours, you're going to be crying about this. You know?
I thought it was kind of sweet. That was like a power move. It's so
beautiful.
A power move in the final battle is York throwing up that contract and like basically pushing back Kaysen's attack onto him.
Oh, God, yeah.
Did you,
because the contract that binds him to the real world. Oh.
I haven't gotten far enough in my second playthrough to the final battle. I was wondering what happens if you hurt Aaliyah too much. Like, does it automatically
I've never tried.
Over?
I mean, I've never tried to. I never shot Aaliyah at all. In either playthrough, so I should probably do that. No, because once he was hiding behind Aaliyah, I started only using the lock-on to fight him.
Yeah.
Because that way I could be guaranteed I wouldn't hit her. It wouldn't surprise me if there was a game over, like a special game over for shooting her.
I'm gonna have to try that while I'm streaming, see if there's a special
scene. If there's a
scene.
special game over. Like, it wouldn't surprise me at all if that turned out to be the case.
So, how did you feel? Okay, so when episode 4 started, and Zach got the fuck out of his apartment, and went back. How did you feel the fact that he was able to move so well through that other world? Like, did the return of his powers give him, like, adrenaline enough to be able to move
well, it's
and
not
fight?
just adrenaline, because, like, when he goes down, right, he realizes he needs the FBI's help finally, because he goes down to Louisiana to investigate, right? But the fact is, he was trying to investigate in the real world. Right? And in the real world, he is a guy who is dying of cancer. He is a guy whose body has betrayed him, who is crumbling, who is not going to be alive much longer. And so, as he said, I didn't have a badge, and I didn't have a gun, and I didn't have my health, so what could I do? I had to call in the FBI to actually do this. Right? No badge, no gun, like, he's done. But once he gets there, right? He is pretty much just operating on the mystical plane.
On his mental.
It was my, like
stuff.
entirely, it is entirely the metaphorical mental plane that he is working on once he gets back to Le Carré. Like, the minute he walks into that vortex, whatever was going on with his body doesn't matter anymore. because this is entirely happening, like, for him, in the area of metaphor. Now, obviously, that's not 100% true. He is walking around a real location while doing this, but it is his spirit self that is doing all of the hunting and the fighting and the shooting, you know, because he's got, I mean, I think it's pretty clear, he's got the gun arm, you know?
Yeah.
Like, the gun arm makes it clear that none of this is happening in the real world. There is this clear demarcation. Now, I mean, the real world is bleeding with the world of the tree and such to such an extent that Aaliyah is able to walk into it without even realizing what she's doing. Which is kind of nice that she turns up and is like, oh my god, Zach was right about you. You do have the potential to see this world because you walked into it without even realizing what you were doing. You still think you're just investigating a murder, but you're actually involved in this giant supernatural experience that you have no preparation for. I kind of love that scene. And I mean, the fact that she has no preparation for it is why it's so easy for Kaysen to manipulate her and take over her mind. Because she's not prepared for it the way York is.
Yeah. Were you
Again, that was my interpretation.
Were you disappointed that you didn't actually get to fight Zach? I thought for sure we'd fight Zach. Tree Monster Zach. Yes!
That would have been cool, but I understand why we didn't. Like, I understand that, like, from a dramatic reason, because he's got to be pulled back from it for the narrative to work. And you can pull it back from it after there's been a fight against him, or you can just have him get pulled back to it by dialogue and the character relationships. Like, there is, on one level, you can have a sequence where you have to weaken him in a fight where you're playing as Aaliyah and shooting Zach. Or you can just have it be entirely on the emotional level. And while I would have liked there to be that fight, like, I think that would have been really cool, keeping it just entirely in the character relationships and in the emotional level, I think works for the story, even if I personally would have very much liked to see that fight happen.
Yeah, I was interested in, like, oh, what's Tree Zach gonna do?
Yeah, what are his powers gonna be?
Never mind.
But we still got a couple of really good fight scenes.
I did like the whole DBZ fusion of York and Zach. That was cool.
I know! Oh my god, they had one green eye and one blue eye!
Yeah.
Wasn't that perfect? Oh, they actually became one for a moment. Like, for the first time ever in their whole lives, they weren't like a guy and his rider and a guy and his friend. They had completely become one person.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful payoff. And yeah, and it's, and god, just, this is the last time we're going to be able to talk is great. But I mean, that's talk. Obviously, we can still, like, instant message each other.
Oh yeah, they have Wi-Fi in the,
They have Wi-Fi in the white world.
Yeah.
A surprise twist I did not see coming. Like, when that, like, you're doing that great ending scene on the laptop, and then suddenly, like, he gets a message from York. Say hi to Emily for me. God. That was so good. Oh.
It was really sweet. I liked his case files, too. There was some movie references, like Crystal Lake. God,
that, where we find out that, we've got to figure out what all of those are and make, like, a little video about it. Because I like that he goes out of his way to take cases that will bring him to places where famous movies were shot or set.
Yep.
That's really nice. Because he mentions it in one of his movie talks. He talks about taking a case so he could go to Monroeville, Pennsylvania and see the mall from Dawn of the Dead. But as he said,
they were both excited about that.
Yeah, they were both super excited to see the real Monroeville Mall. But then, when he was in the hotel there, he saw the movie Time Walker about a mummy, and he's like, oh, screw zombies. Mummies are where it's at. It was such a good joke. Especially, I don't know if you've seen Time Walker. It is not a good movie.
Oh, it's not?
No, it is not a good movie. And I kind of love that one of the things this thing does is like, yeah, he kind of really reinforces he really has bad taste in movies, doesn't he?
Yeah, like, given his diatribe, like, or it's ran about how great the island
is. How much he loves the island. Like, it's the first ever art house action sci-fi movie. Like, this is going to revitalize the entire genre. And of course, 1 year later, Michael Bay would just start making Transformers movies.
I bet York would have loved it.
Oh, no, I'm sure York loved the Transformers
still want to know
movies.
what York would have thought of Malcolm McDowell's performance in Silent Hill Revelation 3D.
Well, he loves Malcolm McDowell Leonard so much.
He was so campy.
Oh, he was. Yeah, that would have been a fun thing for him to comment on. But I think having him talk about a Silent Hill movie would be too meta even for Swery. I think that's like, no, you got to draw the line somewhere. So in the same way, he's not going to talk about Paul Anderson's Resident Evil movies either. It's just not going to happen.
Revelation didn't come out until 2012 after York would be dead. Oh, right.
Yeah, but he could have talked about it in the present day. Like, he could have talked about it.
I guess Zach could have, yes.
Yeah, Zach could have talked about it. Zach still talks about movies. He talks about Spaceballs and the large quantity of pizza you can find in the movie Spaceballs. I mean, the game is freaking loaded with great lines. Like, there's so many
another
great
complaint
lines.
I've seen is people think there's a lot of players were a little bit annoyed by the amount of movie talk. And I think it's supposed to show how York learned how to temper that down by the time he got to Greenvale and kind of just kept it between him and Zach. Like, he was still like a newbie investigator.
This is a younger, less experienced.
He didn't know when to shut the fuck up about his interests. And by the time Greenvale happened, he knew that, you know what? People don't care and don't want to hear me go off about how great this one movie is that they've not seen.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of a neat little difference.
A sign that he's growing as a person. Yeah.
Yeah. An older, wiser York in Greenvale versus, York from 2005.
The one we meet in Le Carré. Yeah. No, I mean, because he has changed.
I was sad that there wasn't as much actual talk about previous cases, though. I mean, he does it.
He does a couple of times.
I feel bad for Chuck because he seemed to get the brunt of it, and he did not want to hear about the gross-ass cases that York...
I know! The woodpecker case! Ugh!
He's like, dude, can you not?
Why are you telling me this?
He was not pleased to hear these stories.
The woodpecker case was so disturbing.
Yes,
oh my God. I was not prepared for the woodpecker case.
And we got a couple, travel conversations after the 50th. We're in the Deep South. You got, a little thing about the guy who would want to French kiss the dead bodies.
Not the dead bodies, just the tongues that he tore out.
Oh,
that he preserved the tongues so he could kiss the tongues. And you're like, oh my God, that's a callback to him, how he learned to understand what passion looked like and how he was able to identify that the killer is a passionate man who truly loves women. Because it reminded him of this other case he had with a guy who was obsessed with kissing these tongues. Oh.
And he taught him the proper way to do it, apparently, on the way to the station.
I know. Yeah. He explained to him the proper way to kiss while he was driving him. Ugh. God, Swery knocks it out of the park every time with these truly, gross moments. And Jeff Kramer knocks it out of the park with his completely neutral delivery of them. As, he's talking about the most
wonder
screwed up
at
things.
Times about it. Yeah. Wow, this is so interesting.
It's he is so, York is so detached from things. And he is so, just experiencing things. And I mean, a lot of that we've learned, of course, comes into the fact that York is an otherworldly creature, right? He is a creature from another place. And as a consequence, that's why everything is so delightful and new and strange to him. Because he's not a human. He's not part of this world.
Meat packing plant is just so glorious to look at. It's what?
He can't get enough of that meat his meat entertainment. These giant row after row after row of, torn up animal corpses. It's so delightful to look at. I'm like, You got problems, man. Is it, though? Is it, York?
Oh, you know what? Oh. I don't think we actually discussed this yet, but...
Yeah.
By the way, guys, Avery's the one that took Lisa's body. Dan is right.
Yeah, I was right. He took the body because he was obsessed with her.
So what happened was, essentially, by the end of the 2005 case, essentially Hurricane Katrina came through and just blew everything away. Yeah. And the reason why Avery took Lisa's body, he was given permission to by Lena, you know?
Yeah.
So he went and he took it from cold storage and hid it in another area of the cold storage building. Then Hurricane Katrina happened. A lot of evidence got
the facility.
Yeah, got lost, and he offered to rebuild the facility, and by doing so, made a little secret area to keep Lisa's body.
Yeah,
he was so like in love and obsessed with her that he just wanted to look at her, and
so he kept her perfectly preserved for 15 years.
And then, of course, here comes Aaliyah walking in and is like...
ruining it for everybody.
She's taking it away again, and he's pissed.
And that is what kicks off the plot of the game.
And then this is what kind of... In the meantime, he's also... You got a hint of it in the 2005 section, but he saw Patricia and saw Lise. Like, even though she was 10 years old, he's like, oh, Lise. So Patricia looks a lot like Lise did. And he grew an obsession for her and was stalking...
As a replacement for, his obsession with Lise, especially after he loses the body.
He goes
needs to find something, and so he goes and he kidnaps her. And that is what kicks off the main story, because they assume that York has kidnapped her, but it was really Avery who did it.
Yeah, so
Avery... And, of course, York figures that out pretty early on, and he gets Simon to go and chase after her. And Simon sends in some agents, and they find out he was right, and that's what kicks off the grand finale of the game.
Yeah, and Zach goes the whole time.
And what I love is that if you think about it, the whole reason he gets them there is to make it so they can... I mean, it's hard to exactly figure out what was going through his head, because Zach's pretty crazy by this part of the story, but he wants to convince them to trust him enough to go and do his bidding, and he manages to convince Simon to go and do his bidding. He can't convince Aaliyah, because fundamentally he didn't know who he was going to get. Like, he didn't know who was going to come and who he was going to have to try and convince. But he manages to convince Simon, even though he can't convince Aaliyah until right at the end, which I thought was very nice.
Through the shit with the pizza.
Yes.
So he played up his fear of Red to...
Yeah.
To have something in his back pocket to convince Simon to trust him. He's like, hey, go ask her who gave the tip. I can tell you right now it was me, and I gave it this name.
Yeah, and here's why. Yeah. Because, he's found out about Simon's association and obsession with pizza, so he knows that's going to resonate. Because, as far as I can tell, pizza will never betray him.
Exactly. And what I kind of liked about this whole sequence, you knew something was up with Simon. Like, when you were in the 2019 segment.
When he comes back.
Why is he so nervous? What is his issue,
Yeah, and Aaliyah keeps looking at him and being like, he's really jumpy. What's going on with this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can look at him and get you can look at him and figure out that there's something wrong with him, and she doesn't know exactly what it is. No, I mean, it's incredibly well structured. It really is. Like, as a mystery, I have some issues with how quickly we get to the ending, and I wish
think the pacing could have been better. I think that I wish the ending bits were well,
I think the pacing could be better. I would argue the pacing could be better in 2005. I would say the pacing and the build of the narrative in the 2019 stuff is pretty close to perfect. Like, the way their intense interrogation and interview gradually builds and becomes more and more intense and has more and more turns over the 4 hours that it takes to play that sequence, I think that's pretty close to perfect. I think the 2005 stuff, I would 100% agree with you.
I think that's what I meant. I meant 2005 with the reveal, with Melvin and Lena and stuff. I just wish there was more
it just rushes right at you.
It feels like they just sort of tell it to you and you're just supposed to accept it. And there wasn't a lot of,
not of the same kind of build up you get. Yeah.
Like, it just seems like, we meet her and then she's dead.
Yeah.
And it's like,
no, we meet Galena
spend some time with her? Yeah, you meet Galena once and the next thing you know, she's dead. You meet Lena, she's dead within like an hour. It's just, I wish there was more time to interact with these characters. We interacted with Melvin, but, I wish we were given a chance to kind of figure it out on our own.
Yes.
Like the time.
Rather than it just rushing. We meet a character, we find out what their role in the murder is, and then they die, like, right away.
So that's a big downfall, I think, with the story, is that pacing. Like, it seemed like we wasted a lot of time doing inane stuff. I mean, it's fun, but come on. There's nothing to those drums. We could have used that extra time to, I don't know, have a chance to, like, talk to Lena before.
Yeah, let's talk to Lena. Let's have Lena send us on a subquest, on a submission. Let's use that submission as a way to find out more about Lena.
Oh, and by the way, that was so really clunky how it was revealed that Lena and Candy slept together. PJ's last words going, by the way, I totally know you did it with your sister. It's like, what? Yeah. This is not the time or the place to talk about this. Why couldn't York found this out, like,
he should have probably figured that out on his own.
Through a diary entry or just observing something. Not PJ going, by the way, I totally know you did it with your sister. And
and it's like, the thing is, if it had been clear, York should have figured it out.
Maybe meet Candy at some point instead of just seeing her.
Yeah, just having her there off to the side. But I think you can't really meet Candy because she's just been zonked out on drugs for years at this point. So we're not going to have a good. I think what you want to do is you want to have him meet Lena. You want to have a bunch of conversations with Lena. You want to find a diary or something. You want him to figure out about her relationship with Candy. Right?
Yeah, that would have been more rewarding, I think.
And
if
then
you figured it out.
You can, if you actually, you're right. If you actually got there on your own, you're right. I would agree that would have been a lot more satisfying. Because right now you got the situation where, like you say, he just says it in a clunky fashion, and it didn't have to be clunky because that's why PJ banished Lenny, right? Yeah. This illicit relationship. So the forgiveness.
Candy and
exactly banish both Candy and Lena over that illicit relationship, and that could have paid off. Like his apology could have had more resonance if we had previously figured out that that's why they were kicked out of the family. Right?
Yeah, I think it would have been better if maybe if they wanted PJ to hint at it and have York figure it out later.
Figure it out.
Maybe
that would
just
have been a better
allude
structure.
to it. It's like, yes, I know what you did, and I
forgive you. I always loved you. I forgive you. You'll always be my say daughter instead of son to show that you finally accept her. Right?
Yeah.
Right? You'll always be my daughter, and then have her blow the thing up.
Isn't that kind of getting him off too easy, though? I mean, he's still a piece of shit for what he did to his daughter.
Oh, no. I'm not saying he deserves forgiveness. I'm saying his last moment should be an attempt to make it right. I mean, it's too late for him to make it right. They're about to get blown up, but just showing that he regrets and he's changed is worth it. Cause I don't think PJ gets let off the hook by the game. Yeah. He says, I know and I forgive you, but he's still a scumbag. He still had people, hold up the arm of his son-in-law to bite off his hand.
What was that? Was it just him just throwing his power around? There was no reason for him to do that.
Well, no, I think the simple reason is that it's like he
put him in his place.
Family. Yeah, well, not just put him in his place, but it's like, seriously, he is only there because he married Galena. He hasn't suffered. He hasn't fought. All he does is he goes and he collects protection money from people. Like, he is not a muscle guy. He has not done anything in his life to prove he deserves to be there beyond the ability to convince Galena to marry him. And so PJ's like, you got to show me something. You've got to show me that you are, that you can handle the tough world we live in, which you've never had to do. So show me you're willing to sacrifice something. And that's what the hand thing is about. And it is one of the things that gets Danny to straighten up and fly right. So, PJ wasn't completely wrong.
Well,
but at the same time,
losing his entire family kind of
that helps. Yeah.
Him up. So
he still has a niece-in-law.
Yeah.
He still has a niece-in-law that he raises, and apparently does a great job.
Oh yeah, he really turned things around.
I'm kind of amazed by how much Danny turned things around.
Yeah.
Like, way to go, buddy. Yeah, and you get that wonderful scene, you get 2 good scenes with him to prep that. And you don't have to do one of the scenes, because if you don't go and kill the gator and find the ring, you miss half of the Danny changing story, right?
Yeah, it's really dependent on how many side missions you do.
Exactly.
That and returning Galena's doll to the swing is another nice moment.
Yeah, it is.
And just seeing him after the death of PJ and Lena, just how broken he is at that point. It's like,
I know.
Aw.
But he pulls it together.
Yeah, he does. So
he gets his redemption, which is nice.
So
you're saying
one of the complaints, circling back to the whole Lena and PJ thing, one of the complaints I saw was, it wasn't appreciated that at the very end, PJ was trying to apologize, like maybe the game was trying to show that what Lena was doing was wrong. I mean, what she was doing was wrong.
Yeah.
But I kind of wonder with that scene if it was a true apology or was it him just trying to manipulate the situation? Because it said like several times throughout the game, Lena herself says that my father taught me how to manipulate people, get them to do what I would want them to do, which is why Lena was able to convince like her own sister to kill her daughter and Melvin to do her bidding. She had that in her back pocket, even though she claims she didn't want that inheritance. She still used it to her advantage to try to complete this BS ritual. I'm wondering if that last moment with PJ was his attempt to try to manipulate Lena into letting him go.
I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. Because, I mean, he's already, even before the explosion, he seems to already be mortally wounded. Right? Like, he seems to be mortally wounded from having... Yeah, he's bleeding out from the bullets, even before the explosion, right?
Doesn't she snap his neck, too? Like...
It's hard to tell.
It seems like she snaps his neck when she tells him to shut up. Yeah. And then the explosion happens, so I'm wondering if it's the explosion that kills him, or
the neck snap first.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I would agree it's tough to say exactly what the cause of death was, but I think it is an honest assessment of his, like, we are actually seeing his regret, because he knows that he's the one who caused this, and he's the one who destroyed his family by trying to control Lena, right? By trying to control Lena, and by and not being able to understand and accept Lena. He's the one who's responsible for all this. And I think that last moment, I don't think the game is arguing you should forgive him. I'm saying the game is saying this character has realized that all of this is his fault his last moments on Earth.
The curse is really due to him and his actions as a father. Exactly. Type thing.
Yeah, like there was no family curse. There was a guy who abused his family and created this situation. You build your own monsters in the same way that George was built by Harry's abandonment and his mother's madness. Mm-hmm. Lena's monstrousness was built by PJ's refusal to accept her for who she was.
Yeah.
That is what I would say, because let's not forget, you go in that scene, like you could say if all we did was see them having a conversation, we could question his motives, but you go into PJ's head, right? You, as York Morgan, are inside PJ's head, and we see him full of regret inside his own head. So I think it's an honest regret and not a manipulation. I don't think that's the only way it can be read. Obviously, other interpretations are there, but I think I would suggest the game's intention is that he means his regret. Like, and that he does mean it, and he realizes in his last moment he was wrong. And again, too little too late, buddy. You know?
It's just so heartbreaking because Lena is so intelligent and charismatic, and she had all of this
potential. And
she had all this stuff going for her.
Yeah.
And where she ends up, it's like, it's so tragic, in my opinion, that she was kind of like led astray down this criminal path.
Well, again, in the same way
because of the hurt she felt from her father.
George's father abandoned him, and he went looking for someone how to teach him how to be a man. And who did he find? He found Forrest Kaysen. And that's exactly what Forrest Kaysen finds these broken, abandoned children, and he becomes their parent and molds them into the successors he wants for his own purposes. Like, that's his MO. That's what he did with George. That's what he does with Lena. It's part of what makes him such a monster of a kid.
That's what he wanted to do with Zach.
It's exactly what he wanted. And it's sure as hell what he was going to do with Isaac and Isaiah.
Yeah, I was going to do the same with the twins.
Yeah. That's why he was constantly hanging around the twins. Because he was preparing for the minute he's going to kill Lily, right? He's going to kill Lily and Keith, and he's going to become their only influence, right? He's going to turn them into tools of the Red Tree in the same way he tried to do with Zach. But York stepped in and kept that from happening, and then that's how the whole story gets started.
Yeah.
Because York stepped in a way that nobody stepped in for George, is the only thing that kept York from going down that same path. Anyway, you were saying, sorry.
Oh, I just all this talk about, like, the other realm and whatnot. We have not discussed the sacred spaces and Emily. So that was kind of a big part of the 2019 segments.
Yeah.
So Zach has a friend he calls my fairy. He doesn't give the fairy a name, but we do see the fairy in the flesh, and it looks just like Emily.
Yeah.
And at the point where it's brought up how she died and he kind of loses it, she disappears.
Yeah.
So, like, the fairy is Emily. It's a piece of Emily. She comes back at the credits, too, when he actually says Emily's name with the fairy.
I know. How beautiful was that?
So I've seen a lot of discussion about, like, what does this mean? Like, is it Emily? Is he just going kind of crazy? And I like to think that it's a piece of Emily. Like, Emily's with York, but she still loves Zach, too.
She does. And my belief is, now I'm going to tell you my theory, and then you tell me if I'm crazy or not. My theory about this scene when I saw that was that as Zach has gone down this, terrible self-destructive path, right? And the brain and his brain cancer has given them the ability to see the other world again. He has gotten, like, Emily, a piece of Emily has returned to him to try and get him back on track.
Yeah, because he's going too close to Kaysen territory.
Yes,
he's letting Kaysen win.
That is my suspicion. Of what, again, that's my suspicion. Obviously, I can't confirm that one way or the other because the game doesn't give you a ton of evidence. But you're right that the game 100% confirms that is a piece of Emily's spirit. The fairy is Emily.
And I was so proud of myself. I was right. That was her necklace around his wrist.
I know! Isn't that great?
Yay! I got something right.
He still got the necklace!
Though I'm kind of curious. I mean, I'm surprised he didn't bring back the gold leaf one that she actually gave him.
Yeah. No, it is a little weird, but I still liked seeing her necklace again.
So do you think there's little sacred spots? Like, what's up with that? The game didn't... Is it just spots for Emily? I don't know.
It does seem that way. Right?
Well, clean spots for Emily to rest.
Yeah, it seems like the sacred spots are like things that where Emily goes or where she sets down, like the fact that there's no dust on them made me think, and you can listen to us and our other podcasts talking about this. It made me think that in the other dimension, like in the other world, there was actually something there. And I kept checking over and over again with the vision in the various scenes we came back to see if you looked with the vision, would there be like a shimmering thing there? But it never actually happened. There was never anything.
Yeah.
And I'll fully admit I was a little disappointed by that we never found out exactly what was going on, but my interpretation
cleared
was...
up. I guess it's kind of like with Sigourney's pot.
Yes, we never quite find out what's going on with it. But yeah, my suspicion was that these are places that are Emily's, right? And no one else is allowed to touch them because they entirely belong to her, is my suspicion.
And another thing, Zach makes this comment that him and Kaysen are two sides of the same coin, you know? Like, if he's still alive, Kaysen's still alive.
Yeah. Because a piece of Kaysen is still in him. It's kind of weird.
It's, I guess, is the game trying to say they have like a Batman Joker thing going on?
I don't think that's a crazy way to read it. I mean, not just a Batman Joker, but I think because Kaysen's attack, right? Because Kaysen's
like Harry and Voldemort. There we go.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Because like Harry and Voldemort, because Kaysen's attack created the need for York and transformed who Zach was, that connection is unbreakable, right? And it's Kaysen's influence on him. Like, as long as he keeps obsessing about the red tree, Kaysen is still very much a part of his life. And as he starts, you know, mutilating these mice, like poisoning these mice and trying to get the tree to go, he is essentially transforming himself into Kaysen and giving Kaysen more and more power. Right? And that's how Kaysen is able to, when he is at his most despairing, come back and see him.
I thought the game made it pretty clear, though, that this Kaysen is now eradicated because that scene with going into his eye and whatnot, it seemed like he's finally gone for good. Yeah. But the tree and like Willie seems to still be there, so maybe there's still other Kaysens out there. So it's possible. The red tree still has a stranglehold on the world. Oh,
it still has influence in the world. The drug is still out there. It has agents.
It's now gone.
But this Kaysen, the Kaysen that we've, you know, known and hated for 2 games now, he is finally extinguished at the end of this game. And thank God for that. Okay, I got please, go.
I was just going to say, do you think Zach even realizes that Willie is evil?
I don't think he does, no.
It seems like he doesn't understand.
No, he never quite figured that part out.
Yeah. So Willie's still a threat.
Yeah, Willie's still a threat. Willie's still out there. Willie's still a threat. I think
Willie's his desktop background.
I know, how great is that? He got a picture of a Dalmatian in his desktop.
Like, Zach?
You seem to have missed some of the point here, Zach. Oh yeah, that was pretty funny. What I really liked, though, what I really loved in that is just how chill that ending sequence is. Like, after all of this agony, it's so relaxing. Like, the end of the game is so... Oh, you gave us, like, the perfect everything is resolved, everything is calmed down ending. And I honestly didn't know if we were going to get it. Yes, he finally has an actual friend.
Like, during the game, I was just like, just let him die and return to York and Emily. He's so sad. He's so sad. Just let him die. And then it's like,
but then you get to the end, you're like, no. Patty. He still has a chance at a real life. He's got a real friend. He's got a real connection in the world. Finally.
Yep.
It's so amazing. That like, last scene
Patty.
Is so good. Yeah. Him and
now
Patty.
He's not sick anymore. And
there's a weird line in there, though, where I think there might be... So there's a couple of graphical issues in the game and animation issues, because there's a bunch of times when York is talking that Jeff Kramer does the vocal effect for inhaling and blowing out smoke, but they don't animate Zach taking a drag from his joint. Like, that happens more than a few times, and it just feels like a mistake. And then at the end, there's this weird dialogue where he's talking to her on the phone, and he talks about her putting her hair back.
Yeah, that seems to be a mistake.
It's a mistake, because it was supposed to be adult Patty, and she has black hair again like she did as a kid, but they didn't change the model and didn't give her black hair, but the line is still there in the dialogue. So you noticed that too. Okay.
I'm wondering if maybe blonde was her natural hair color because both of her parents are blonde. That's
true. But the fact that he describes it as a change and that he went back to a thing, to me, it sounds like she should have black hair again in that scene and she doesn't.
Yeah.
So you thought those lines were odd too.
Yeah, I thought that was odd.
I'm going to maybe watch that for a third time and kind of like parse what he says. Because you could be right that her natural hair color is blonde. Because, Lena... Actually, we don't know what Lena's real hair color was.
We saw her...
Do we ever see a picture of Leonard? Younger?
We see her when she was younger. Like in...
Still, yes.
When we found the little... research shed?
Yeah, the shack, you're right.
You saw her, scribbling in her journal.
Yeah, but that was still Lena.
No, it was...
Oh, no, you're right, it was you're right. No, you're right.
So she was toe-headed and...
Yeah, she was always blonde, so you're right. Okay, maybe it's just referencing the fact that she should have had blonde hair all along? Yeah, that's entirely
guess.
Possible.
I mean, that's my guess.
I would suggest you're probably right about that one.
But it comes off weird. I think it was a mistake.
It's inelegant dialogue, is what it is.
Now, now discussing this on the Friendly Premonition Discord.
Nice.
The Emily scenes with Emma. Yeah. She was talking about the scene where Zach basically tells York to tell her I said hi. And then immediately after he closes the laptop, here comes Fairy Emily.
I know.
And he tells her bye. And I'm wondering if that's Emily going, no, I'll tell him hi myself. Let me go say hi to my boyfriend.
I really hope so.
So I like that little interpretation. That is like Emily going to actually go say hi back.
Yeah. No. 100%. I think that's canon. Yeah, I don't think that's our interpretation. I think that's exactly what was intended. Yeah, and that's the one thing I think that surprised me the most is what a good place it leaves Zach and all the characters. Like, this is a Deadly Premonition game where it's like, yep, it ends with a 100%, you can relax, all of the loose ends are tied up, the story is over, and it feels great.
Yep. And were you scared at first when
terrified! When
York was all like, this is the last time?
I know.
That ending scene is like, no, let him die then. Let him die.
I know.
But no, he's just being dramatic.
York is, if nothing else, a drama queen. This man, he is always overdramatic about everything, and that's why he's the best.
I did like reading their little chat conversations.
Yes.
It's really funny.
God. And it's just like doing the chat conversation while he's talking to Patricia. That's so cool. And it's so York. And it's so Zach. Oh, no, they're such wonderful characters. And again, I know I've said this a bunch of times already, but the fact, the way, right, that Jeff Kramer does these two completely different characters as York and Zach. Because it's not just the voice, it's the way he, it's not just the sound of the voice, it's a completely different cadence. It's a completely different intention behind the lines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
The world weariness of Zach is so pronounced compared to how almost naive and passionate York is about everything. It's pretty incredible.
And how jaded and upset Zach is in
how there's
2019. How
there's
mean
almost
he
nothing
is.
left of Zach.
The game really makes you kind of despise Zach at first.
Yeah.
It's like, what is your? Come on, dude, this is not you. What is wrong with you? So it was a relief to find out later that it was partially an act.
Yeah, it was partially an act. He was testing them. Oh my god! But I got it. Oh, please, go.
Oh, I gotta ask you. I asked you this in our last podcast. How do you feel? Like, how does this compare to the first game? Which one do you like better? Are you more comfortable giving an answer?
No, I am. I'm 100%. I've played it twice now, so I'm ready to say that, again, as rated as a, air quotes, game, as a thing to be played, right? This is, without qualification, the better experience to sit down and play. You will have a better time playing Deadly Premonition 2 than you ever had playing Deadly Premonition. I can say that to, like, some degree of certainty, right? Now, taken as a whole, though, Deadly Premonition 2 would be, for me, a little behind Deadly Premonition, simply because there is, so much of Deadly Premonition is getting to know the world and getting to know the people and getting to know the characters. Like, what makes Deadly Premonition so special is that it is this living, breathing world full of characters you get to meet and develop relationships with and find out all about, right? So that's so much of what Deadly Premonition works. Now, in this game, you only really get to do that with Patricia and Aaliyah and Simon. And for me, that is why I still put Deadly Premonition 1 overall, a little over Deadly Premonition 2, because there is so much depth to all the characters. Like, if we got to spend the kind of time with Lena that we got to spend with Emily and Thomas, I would say this was 100% the better game overall, right? Mm-hmm. And if we got to spend the kind of time with Marvin that we got to spend with George, I would say this was the better game overall, right? Oh, yeah, thank
Melvin.
you.
Yeah.
I know. I said Marvin instead of Melvin. It's embarrassing. Yeah, with Melvin, with George, I would say 100% this is the better game. But it's only because, and my only hesitation from saying this is the better game, is that you don't get that kind of toehold into the world. Le Carré is a beautiful location, and it is a living, breathing place the way Greendale was, but it is not as deep and as complete as Greenvale was. And that is why I slightly put Deadly Premonition 1 over Deadly Premonition 2. But I would not say no to either of them, and I think that this deserves incredible bonus points for being a completely satisfying sequel to a game that it seems like there couldn't possibly have been a sequel to.
Yeah.
So that is my take. I was ready to give my answer. That is my answer. What is your feeling about the same thing?
So I'm still on, I prefer Deadly Premonition 1. Like, yeah. I enjoyed the sequel. I had fun with it. But just taking the story on its own, I think that Deadly Premonition 1 is easier to understand. Yeah. Like, I feel like if you didn't play Deadly Premonition 1, you will not necessarily understand Deadly Premonition 2. Like, Deadly Premonition 1 is so self-contained. Like, you don't need to play anything else to really, truly understand. I feel like if you don't have that backstory, the second game will not resonate as hard with you. Like, it doesn't really explain, like, the York-Zach relationship very well. Even, like, Kaysen, I mean, you get bits and pieces, and if you played the first game, you will be able to fill in the blanks.
But you're right that this game would make no sense to anyone who hasn't played the first game. But
I found myself closer to the characters in the first game. Like what you said, you spend more time with them. And even though the look of Greenvale is very blah, lots of repeating facades, like buildings and landscapes, I still liked the fact that I could go visit people in their homes, see how they lived, see how their lives were going. I was given that option to do that sort of investigation. While in Le Carré, it felt more, I was still on the outside. Like, I didn't really get close to these people. I didn't see how they lived. Like, I couldn't peek in their windows. I couldn't visit them within their homes. I just stood outside. Mm-hmm. So it still felt like there was this disconnect in that terms. I felt closer to the town of Greenvale than I am with Le Carré. Even though there's more shit to do in Le Carré.
There's a lot more to do.
I felt like I was closer to everybody in Greenvale. And because of that, like, the deaths and whatnot hit me harder than it did here.
Well, what's another interesting thing is there aren't that many deaths in Deadly Premonition 2.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You don't, and you're right, you don't get a chance to meet and get to know PJ before he gets killed, or Galena. The only person who we spend a lot of time with before they die is Melvin.
Yeah.
And that's why I felt so kicked by all of the Melvin reveals. And I thought the Melvin reveals have some of the power of the death scenes from Deadly Premonition.
Yeah, but
I think that was the only one that had that same kind of power.
Yeah, I mean, it hurt that he died, but I think what's also kind of coloring my thing, I really liked the 2019 segments because we got to know Zach as his own person and character.
For the first time
just
ever.
That alone, I think, really influenced my love of this game. If there wasn't those 2019 segments, and it was just the 2005 investigation, I would rank this a lot lower than I do now. It's those 2019 segments that really bump up the game overall for me personally.
Oh, no, I agree.
Because, like I said earlier, the whole ritual and motivations between the characters doing these heinous things is really hard to wrap your head around. It's just, it's thrown at you so last minute. It's like, wait, what? Wait.
No.
I'm sorry. There's no build up to Melvin being in love with Lena. He just says it, and we're supposed to accept it. There's no, like...
Yeah, what you should have had was a whole bunch of scenes talking to Melvin, with him talking about, you know, his feelings about love, and it being all-encompassing, and how you'll do anything for the person you love, and blah, 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 blah. And then the payoff would have been, oh no, he's been talking about Lena this whole time.
Yeah, I mean, you get a hint of it a little bit with,
just a little.
His family, but it just seemed weird going into that scene, seeing how just quickly he was ready to kill Patricia, but then all of a sudden, not anymore. It like he had a switch moment. It's like, wait. Well, he seemed a little bit like,
but he switches because
his
emotions. I don't think it's that bipolar, because when he sees Zach. Sorry, I keep saying Zach. It's hard to keep them straight. When he sees York risking his life to protect Patricia, I think that awakens in Melvin what his responsibility as her father should have been this whole time. You know? And I think it ties back to what Lena truly felt for Patricia. And it's like seeing York being the only person who's just looking out for Patricia shames and shocks her supposed parents into like smartening up. Is my take on the subject. I mean, that's something you and I are probably going to talk about later.
I mean, that fits because it's made pretty clear that Patty can do whatever she wants.
Oh, absolutely.
Because at that point, Melvin knew she was going to be sacrificed, so what the hell, let her follow around this rando FBI agent and see murder scenes and crime scenes and stuff. Like, who cares? She's going to die in like a couple days.
Yeah, so what does it matter? Let her have a good time. And then he's like, oh God, I should have been looking out for her this whole time. And I should have actually cared about her. I should have actually been looking out for her. I shouldn't have just been preparing her for this.
Yeah, so for 8 years, basically, he was working towards her death.
Yep, which is a really horrifying thing to think about.
Yeah.
As they hung out at home watching CSI, he knows that at some point and MacGyver, she's going to be sacrificed.
Yeah.
It's a messed up story. And the only, like I said, the thing that would improve it most is getting to spend more time, like, because it's all there in the subtext. All of these incredibly dramatic aspects and all the stuff that makes it such an intense story, it's there if you're paying attention, and it's there if you think about it. But I think we can both agree that it should have been more there on the page. It should have been more there in the text.
Yeah, because just reading discussions like on Reddit and Twitter and Reset Era and stuff like that.
Some people are just not getting it.
There's a lot of stuff people aren't picking up. Like, they get to that scene, the boathouse, and they're just like, what?
What is happening?
What? I don't understand it. What? Now he wants to sacrifice Patricia? What the fuck? You know, the game doesn't make it very clear.
No.
Yeah, I wish there was more laid out in the main story, their motivations, instead of just telling us, like,
in
let us
the same way
discover.
that George gets that horrifying confession about his mother, right? Like these these chances to talk about his mother. In that same way, we should have gotten those scenes with Melvin to set this up.
Mm-hmm. It just felt too sudden.
No, I agree.
It's like, we'd have to trust what they're saying because that's what the game's telling you. I just wish it was. Yeah.
You wish it was part of it. You wish the subtext was text. You wish they had put a little more work into establishing all that stuff. And I completely agree with you.
You have to really kind of work to understand, like, wrap your head around the motives here.
It's true.
It's all heinous, and it's like, why would anybody agree to do this? Yeah. Why is it so important to purify this family's bloodline who's been in power for 100 years? Like, why does she even care, you know? I mean, we got a little bit more with Lena, but it's like, how is she able to convince Melvin and...
we know that he was able to convince, she was able to convince Melvin because Melvin has been in love with Lena his entire life. But how did he get? Okay, makes sense. I guess I should say on board.
Galena, like the whole. Yeah. How do you was she just completely?
Yeah.
Was she just completely strung out on Saint Rouge? Was she like? How do you convince your sister to kill her own daughter, and then plan to kill the father, and then kill themselves? I mean, that seems like a big.
Oh, it's a big ask.
Yeah,
it is. It's a big ask.
It was so dependent on these other people, and it's just so hard. I mean, with George, it's like, okay, well, it just really comes down to him. He just has to convince himself. He convinced these two people who are in love with him to help him get more victims. You know, okay, that makes sense. But it all comes down to him doing the deed. You know, and
but there are so many more moving parts in this story.
Yeah, and there wasn't enough groundwork laid. Like, oh.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay. Yeah.
No,
so that's why I think the story was laid out. The narrative was laid out for comparing just the two cases, just throwing out the 2019 shit, but just 2005 Le Carré versus 2010 Greenvale. I think the Greenvale case made more sense, even though they both had bizarre things happen. You know?
Yeah. I would agree with you that it is the better story between the two of them. I think both are really interesting, but you're right. Too much is in the background. Too much is bizarre and underneath.
And we're just told, you know, we're not shown. We're just told. This is how it is, you know?
Yeah.
I wish we were shown
more of these relationships. Yeah. No, I completely agree with you on that front. That would have helped. But yeah, overall, I just want to make it clear. I still love this, you know?
Oh, yeah, I adore this game. I still love this game.
It's magnificent. It really is. It is almost everything I wanted in a Deadly Premonition. I love it. The skateboarding is fantastic. I didn't quite get the skateboarding.
I didn't like the races, though. It was not fun. I think I would like the races better if York was allowed to step off the skateboard to readjust himself instead of being glued to it. Once I got what do you call it? Incense? Not incense, which is the one that... Oh, no, it's incense. No, it's
Once I got incense that increased my top speed and my handling, the skateboard goes from awkward during the races to, boom, you're just zipping through them, no trouble at all.
Well, it's... Like, what about, like, making turns and stuff? Is it easier?
Oh, yeah. No, once you increase the handling...
Because I did do the incense with my...
Once you get the handling up to +5, you can, like, turn on a dime. It's great.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what you have. My thing was,
I was always turning into, like, objects, and then I'd have to slowly reposition myself because I couldn't step off the skateboard and turn around with my feet.
That is frustrating, yeah. But no, like, it's much... Once you get up to, like, +5 handling, it's much easier to weave around things. You're going, and I've got +5 handling and +10 speed, so it's very easy to just loop around places without any trouble.
Did you get your sketching to finally work?
I finally got sketching to work.
Yeah, I got it once or twice, but...
Well, no, the trick is you have to increase your speed a bunch.
Yeah,
because with your base speed level, you can't catch cars to sketch them.
No.
But once I got the plus 10 speed, now it's easy to catch up with cars and sketch them. The confusing part is you can't sketch characters' cars. You can only sketch NPC cars.
Oh, really? That's weird.
Yeah, you can't sketch any cars that is driven by an actual character in the game.
Now,
it's kind of
I have
strange.
another question for you about the skateboards. Go. Do you actually get to customize the look of it?
No, you do not get to customize the look.
So it just seems to be the thing with the Joy-Cons then. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have not, I mean, maybe there's a way. I haven't found a way to customize.
You haven't unlocked it maybe yet. So for those who don't know, depending on what you're playing the game with, York's gun and his skateboard will be different colors. So for me, my Switch is the all black one. So his gun and his skateboard are gray and black,
Yeah.
But those who have like a green Switch, his skateboard will be green.
My default Switch, my regular launch Switch, he has a purple gun.
Oh, I've heard like people who use the the separate controller you can buy instead of using the Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
That also gives a purple gun as well.
Oh, that must be what's doing it. Okay. Yeah, because I do play not with the Joy-Cons. I play with my external USB controller. That's what makes it purple. Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
I was wondering what caused that. But yeah, I mean, but the game is loaded with cute, small things like that. And I would like just little fun stuff for you to find.
How many stamps have you gotten?
Oh god, like 150? I'm closing in on my 4th suit. You get a new suit every time you get 40 stamps.
Yeah, I'm
I got like 150.
I'm at like 140 something with my second playthrough.
Okay.
How many,
and luckily the stamps keep going between playthroughs.
How many side missions have you actually done?
A huge amount. I'm currently working on the side missions you get by constantly what do you call it? Paying for the doctor's services by doing a favor rather than giving him cash.
So those ones are weird. Like
you pick up garbage, yeah.
I think it's a glitch because they won't stay on your list.
No, it's very strange.
They disappear. So I think that might be a glitch. Through my second playthrough, for some reason he wasn't giving me 3 other ones that apparently, like, you have to go clean up near the Clarkson food, I think near the bowling alley. And
near the lake.
Well, no, I got the lake one. I got the Oak
Clarkson
Street one and the graveyard.
Okay, so I've got the Clarkson one.
So I was getting like 48, 51, and 52 or whatever, but it seems that there might be at most 53 side missions. It
does seem that way, yeah.
Unless there's more community service. And what's strange is one of those, I did get that beautification bonus, but only with one of them.
Really?
Yeah, it only happened once, so I don't know what I did exactly to make it pop up.
There are definitely glitches in the game, and the way it's coding things. For example, according to the game and the stamps, I have never been paralyzed. Because it says, get poisoned 0 out of 10 times, 0 out of 30 times, and I've been poisoned a bunch, and those all get counted. But when it says get paralyzed, I've been paralyzed like 20 times in the game by those damn scissormen, and it still says 0 out of 5, 0 out of 10, 0 out of 30. So
yeah, it's
the
weird.
Game still tells me I've never been paralyzed.
And
it's
for so long, we thought that UFO Freemason was glitched, but it's not. You just had to take down a specific UFO.
Yeah, which they're not, super clear about where
it doesn't let you know on the card. Now, if they said somewhere, like, hinted that it's a particular UFO and not just any UFO you see in the sky,
I know.
I wouldn't have assumed it was glitched, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's, if there's one thing I could say, one of the bigger problems with the game is they're really not good at communicating how you're supposed to do a lot of those missions.
Yeah.
Like, they're just really not. It's a problem.
Oh, and by the way, we are not the only ones who did not know how to use a skateboard. I've helped a lot of people who are like, how do I unlock the skateboard? I'm like, press Y.
Yeah, press Y. The game really should have put that in the instructions screen when you first step out of the hotel. You should step out of the hotel and it's like, here's how to walk, here's how to run, here's how to skateboard. That's all it needed to tell you, but it doesn't.
So it's not just us.
Yeah. Oh, it's so frustrating. So frustrating. But yeah, hopefully they will figure that one out. Hopefully when this patch comes that fixes the frame rate, fingers crossed, they will put that in too, you know?
Yeah.
We can hope. I don't know if I have any confidence that that's going to happen, but it would be nice.
It would be nice.
Yeah. All right. We should probably wrap up here because we've gone 2.5 hours. So thank you to anyone who joined us the whole way. This is not going to be our last word on Deadly Premonition 2. Don't worry. We've got plenty of other stuff to talk about.
Oh, yeah. We've gotten several requests for a plot breakdown.
So we're definitely doing a plot breakdown.
It's definitely going to happen, guys.
And if you have any stuff you'd like specifically for us to address, just drop it in the comment section below this video. We could always put together a Q&A podcast. A live stream. We could even do it on a live stream if you want. Yeah. Where if you have questions for us, if you have stuff you'd just like to hear our thoughts or theories on, you can drop us a line about that, and we'd be happy to help you with it. Because obviously we love talking Deadly Premonition.
I don't know where you get that idea. Come on, son.
Oh, bravo. Seriously, though, we will, so let's wrap it up here. If you have, like I said, if you have any questions for us, if there's stuff you want to hear from us, drop in the comment section below. You can contact us. Do we have an email for the thing? I know you can contact us on Twitter. Do we have an email for Deadly Premonition Archives?
Yes, we do. It's deadlypremonitionarchives@gmail.com.
Okay. Bad that I didn't know that.
Let me double check.
Good look for me.
We did get some spam on there.
Ooh, fancy.
So hold on. It's deadlypremonitionarchives@gmail.com. All spelled out.
Okay. Yeah, so you can totally you can find us there as well if you want to.
It's on the. It's if you need it, just go to the About tab and just the emails in that section.
All right, so check us out there. And I think that's that. So yes, any final words?
Nope.
Remind people to watch your streams.
Oh yeah, I'm still streaming the game. I'm on episode 4. Though by the time this comes out, I might be done. But okay. You could see me stream just games in general. I stream most nights, starting at 8:30 p.m. and
Pacific time.
Just look up Kemiro on Twitch or just follow me on Twitter at Kemi_Row. I always tweet when I'm going to stream on there as well. Or watch my archives on Whitney Plays on YouTube.
All right. You can find me at Hidden Object Guru on YouTube, which is where I stream nightly as well. 3 hours? 2 hours before you do? 2 hours before you do, I think. Because I'm at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So, I'm doing a little math here. Yeah, 7 o'clock. So, 3 hours before you start, I guess. I'm trying to... I'm bad at time zone math. That's just obviously true. Where I'm going to continue covering Deadly Premonition and a ton of other stuff as well. So join us back here for that. But until then, as always, thanks for listening to the Greenvale radio podcast. We are going to be having plenty more of these. We've got, like I said, we're going to do a Q&A. We're planning some interviews going forward. So there's going to be a lot more content here about Deadly Premonition and Deadly Premonition 2. Don't worry about that. Mm-hmm. So, we'll see you back here, but until then, I'm going to say au revoir.
Bye, guys.